um.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, August 8th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1162.
This is No Agenda.
Assessing America under assault and broadcasting live from the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, an area plagued with white supremacists, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
They're there too?
Oh, everybody, all these Democrats in the Silicon Valley, they're all white supremacists, it turns out.
And what evidence do you have of this?
I heard it. I read it.
Uh-huh.
The Canadians think so.
So do the Brits. So does the rest of the world. This is quite the assault on the United States.
We are a phenomenon. Who knew?
We are the biggest racial bunch of a-holes in the universe.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Well, it's worse than that.
What do you mean of worse than that?
Well, I mean, what do you mean? What do I mean? Let me see if I have this clip here. It's funny that you should mention anything because then I realize I don't have my glasses, which I have to go get while you're playing this clip.
Okay.
This is the MSNBC clip.
Yes, insanity.
Yeah, the insanity clip.
Where not only is the internet facilitating the speed of radicalization, but our leader, our chief executive, is seen as almost a mentor and a radicalizer. And unfortunately, today, we did not hear what we needed to hear from that person that these extremists and unstable people look to. He spoke in the passive voice, in the collective voice. We didn't hear first person from him. We didn't hear, I condemn white hate ideology. We heard the nation must condemn it. Well, the nation does condemn it, but we didn't hear what we needed to hear. So what happens is the extremists interpret what the president read off a script today as something he needed to say, something he didn't really want to say. So the president's either getting really good advice and rejecting it, or he's getting really bad advice. And I'll give you an example of that. We have to understand the adversary and the threat we're dealing with. And if we don't understand how they think, we'll never understand how to counter them. So it's little things and language and messaging that matters. The president said that we will fly our flags at half-mast until August 8th. That's 8/8. Now, I'm not going to imply that he did this deliberately, but I am using it as an example of the ignorance of the adversary that's being demonstrated by the White House. The numbers 8/8 are very significant in neo-Nazi and white supremacy movement. Why? Because the letter H is the eighth letter of the alphabet, and to them, the numbers 8/8 together stand for Heil Hitler. So we're going to be raising the flag back up at dusk on 8/8. No one's thinking about this. No one's giving him the advice, or he's rejecting the advice. So understand your adversary to counter the adversary.
I know you're keeping your options open there, Frank, but as chilling as that is to hear, you're saying it is possible that someone who knows better is authoring or editing the words that show up and are read verbatim, or are supposed to be read verbatim by the president.
You know, I'm glad you almost got the full clip, and I'm glad you did that. A lot of things, particularly on conservative Twitter, are being played without context. And you even missed, I think, the context of what this is. Frank, what's his name?
Nucci or whatever. He's an ex-FBI top dog.
Well, that's why it's important to have it in context. Most people didn't even have that much when they showed a clip of this guy talking. It was just, oh, Trump is ready, or setting the flag on 8/8 Hitler, 8/8 This guy.
You know, I always thought, by the way, HH meant Heil Hydra.
Okay, so the point is,
I'm sure the Marvel fans out there will appreciate that. Anyway, go on.
This guy is the former assistant director of the FBI, and if we go back to the beginning of this interview, it's a little more interesting than just. Although out of context on Twitter, all you saw was, this guy's crazy, numerology, blah, blah. You had here that he's explaining, hey, wait a minute, someone may be writing speeches for the president and he doesn't know what he's saying. They may be slipping stuff in. But it's a little bit worse than that because this guy made some predictions.
5 days ago, Frank Figliuzzi, the former FBI Assistant Director for Counterintelligence, wrote the following in an op-ed in the New York Times, and we quote, "Instinct and experience tell me we're headed for trouble in the form of white hate violence stoked by a racially divisive president."
Gee, imagine that. And a former FBI assistant director predicting violence from white supremacists just 5 days before it happens. On the sixth day, a cycle perhaps, it happens.
He has chosen a re-election strategy based on appealing to the kinds of hatred, fear, and ignorance that can lead to violence. And once again tonight, we have Frank Figliuzzi back on our broadcast. Frank, what were the signs, and how do we know how to navigate this tomorrow and the next day? This starts becoming the definition of terrorism when people develop anxiety about what should be free-flowing public places.
Totally scripted between the two.
Not that, it was pathetically scripted, and the fact that Williams or any normal journalist didn't push back on this HH nonsense, which is just a creation of maniacs, is beyond me. I mean, it's not beyond me because MSNBC works, like this is what they do. They got these scripted segments and they go back and forth and they read the script very well. But yeah, you're associating it with the cycle and the terrorism malarkey and all the rest of it.
I'm just saying, why does this guy predict something? It happens 5 days later. He shows up. Then he's talking all kinds of stuff like them. He essentially says there may be people in and around in the White House and around the president who are true white supremacist Nazis who are slipping stuff in. And to be fair, the president did not mistake Dayton for Toledo. That was in his teleprompter. And I'm not sure how that got in there. If you do Toledo white supremacists in 2015, there was a huge neo-Nazi clash in Toledo, Ohio. I'm not so sure he's completely off base. I'm not sure he's not off base. I don't know. But I'll tell you, there are provocateurs out there in the left-wing media, and they're doing a really good job. And I have another example. Let me just do the second example. This is another thing that Republican conservative Twitter lost their crap over, and this is Nicole Wallace. This is the clip that most people saw.
The last Republican president fought for, sought, and it's not ideal, but had 44% of the Latino vote. It was so politically powerful inside the last Republican administration. President Obama used the power of the presidency to try to pass comprehensive immigration reform with the Latino community, Latino leaders at the table. You now have a president, as you said, talking about exterminating Latinos.
What were you yelling?
What comprehensive immigration reform did Obama try to pass?
Just listen to the clip, and then you'll see what...
I'm sorry. Go on, play it.
You now have a president, as you said, talking about exterminating Latinos.
It's not...
Okay, so you now have a president who's talking about exterminating Latinos. Of course,
when did he do that?
Of course, people lost their shit over this, and she had to come up with some half-hearted apology about that she misspoke, etc. But if you really listen to what she says...
You now have a president, as you said, talking about exterminating Latinos.
She says, you now have a president, as you said, because this guy she's talking to, Raul Reis, R-E-Y-S, who is on the editorial board of USA Today, has no Wikipedia page, only bios on the internet about what he's done, who he works for. He just shows up everywhere. There's no background. I'm telling you, this guy is a provocateur because he indeed did put this in her head. Nicole Wallace is a simpleton, so she picked that up and used it stupidly. But listen to this guy.
And with regard to the president's remarks, sad to say, I don't really see at this point anything he can do. In words and actions throughout his presidency, he's basically declared open season on Latinos because we are one of his favorite targets. And it's not just the language he used. You mentioned calling Mexicans drug dealers and rapists when he came down the escalator. That was day one. Then it escalated into attacks on Latino journalists. It escalated into attacks on the the so-called, as in his words, the Mexican judge. Then he ramped it up again to the invasion, the warning people of the caravan, and words like infestation. What do you do with an infestation? With an infestation, the conclusion is to attempt an extermination. So to me, there's very little distinction between his inciting this violence and the fact that it is now happening. Because
so you can hear this guy said it. She referred back to him. She's an idiot. But this guy is a spook, or he's something. He's some kind of provocateur, and I have no other information about him other than he's on the USA Today editorial board, which is concerning by itself, saying these types of things. So there is something going on, a concerted push, a real effort, and we've abandoned everything now. We've abandoned Russia, everything else that the president... Now
well, it's in the rotation, so it's, we haven't abandoned that.
But this seems to be the all-in way that they're all going, and worse, what really irks me is what the president said. This is really, I've not seen it so bad in the United States as this. And I pulled a couple of clips from his statement that he read off the teleprompter, uninspired. This is where if you can go back and look, and you'll see that he is reading Toledo from the teleprompter. In fact, it even looks like for a moment he realizes that can't be right, but he still reads it. But what did he say?
The shooter in El Paso posted a manifesto online consumed by racist hate. In one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. These sinister ideologies must be defeated. Hate has no place in America. Hatred warps the mind, ravages the heart, and devours the soul.
So notice he's taking the manifesto at face value that this guy did it, even though there is evidence to the contrary. Here is the owner of 8chan, where the manifesto, so-called, which we looked at in detail on the last show, where the shooter uploaded that. Now, 8chan is it's basically a bulletin board where you can post stuff, and you can do that anonymously. The guy who runs it, I think the servers are in the Philippines, he makes his money by advertising on 8chan kind of odd travel books, which, sketchy travel books about weird stuff you can see in different countries. I don't care, but he made a statement about this being uploaded to 8chan.
First of all, the El Paso shooter posted on Instagram, not 8chan. Later, someone uploaded a manifesto. However, that manifesto was not uploaded by the Walmart shooter. I don't know if he wrote it or not, but it was not uploaded by the murderer. That is clear. And law enforcement was made aware of this before most people had even heard the horrific news.
And by the way, he put the TAPS bugle under it. That's just the drama of how he wants to present this. But notice, he could know by device identifiers, IP addresses, etc. He said, whoever uploaded that manifesto, it wasn't the guy who was posting on 8chan previously. You don't hear about that.
The spirit and letter of the law have always been faithfully fulfilled, and my company has always made certain of that. It is unfortunate that this place of free speech has temporarily been removed.
All right. So for the president to take this in his speech, and he's reading it, so he's responsible for it, to take it at face value as the truth or as a single guy who did all this is just factually not true. We know it now. He should have known that. Then here's the president again.
We must seek real bipartisan solutions. We have to do that in a bipartisan manner that will truly make America safer and better for all. First, we must do a better job of identifying and acting on early warning signs. I am directing the Department of Justice to work in partnership with local, state, and federal agencies, as well as social media companies, to develop tools that can detect mass shooters before they strike. As an example, the monster in the Parkland High School in Florida had many red flags against him, and yet nobody took decisive action. Nobody did anything. Why not?
Now, the Parkland shooter was mainly family members and friends who called the FBI and complained about him. There was only one small posting, if I recall correctly, on, I think maybe it was Instagram. But that was really not a social media case. Now the president is talking about working with social media companies to identify problems, which he'll call red flags in a moment. And I don't know, is he going to stifle people? Is he now going to work on deplatforming? If any of this is planned, that is, and just the fact that they want to go snooping around is almost a direct violation of Fourth Amendment rights. This is an outrage.
Second, we must stop the glorification of violence in our society. This includes the gruesome and grisly video games that are now commonplace. It is too easy today for troubled youth to surround themselves with a culture that celebrates violence. We must stop or substantially reduce this, and it has to begin immediately.
So calling out video games is old trope. There's no scientific evidence, nor is there scientific evidence that the litany of movies from Hollywood and television shows have similar influence. Tarantino's latest Bloodbath is in theaters now. No mention of that. Now, for sure, video games is a huge industry, and maybe it conditions kids. This president, our president, is the guy at the front of the military, the most murderous machine ever built in history. Oh, yeah, but let's not have a culture of violence anywhere. What he doesn't mention, of course, is that these things by themselves, may spur someone on, but how about the combination of drugs, combination of SSRIs, psychotropic drugs? Not a single mention about that.
Third, we must reform our mental health laws to better identify mentally disturbed individuals who may commit acts of violence and make sure those people not only get treatment, but when necessary, involuntary confinement. Mental illness and hatred pulls the trigger, not the gun.
Okay. So he's saying this, of course, to distance everything from guns from what's going on. What is he going to do now? If you're angry and you post something hateful, are you going to be picked up and involuntarily incarcerated because you may be mentally ill? Oh, we just have to check you, Mr. Curry. Just make sure that everything's okay. Make sure that you're not completely out of control. Very dangerous shit that's going on here.
Fourth, we must make sure that those judged to pose a grave risk to public safety do not have access to firearms, and that if they do, those firearms can be taken through rapid due process.
So are we going to go straight to Rob Reiner's house and take away any guns he has because he appears mentally ill? I mean, may think it's a good idea, but it could happen to me.
That is why I have called for red flag laws, also known as extreme risk protection orders.
Now, none of this is an executive order. He's just reading from the script. But when he says extreme risk protection order, I feel an executive order coming on pretty soon. And it's literally going to be like a Gestapo force that is going to check on you online if you're okay, if something's not wrong with you. We'll do a little sanity check. Oh, you got some guns? Let's take those away first just in case. Red flag.
Today, I'm also directing the Department of Justice to propose legislation ensuring that those who commit hate crimes and mass murders face the death penalty, and that this capital punishment be delivered quickly, decisively, and without years of needless delay.
Understanding where the president's coming from, that a lot of mass shooters sit in jail for years and years and years on end, I understand what he's saying, but you put that in combination with a red flag, maybe some mental health issues, clear hate. oh, I'm sorry, we got to go kill you now. I mean, I know it sounds a little extreme, but is it really when you hear what he's saying?
These are just a few of the areas of cooperation that we can pursue. I am open and ready to listen and discuss all ideas that will actually work.
Now, the way he says that, maybe he's negating all of this, and maybe that's a signal saying, well, you know, this is all bull crap. I'm just saying it, so I'm open to ideas that will really work, but I don't like it.
That will actually work and make a very big difference. Republicans and Democrats have proven that we can join together in a bipartisan fashion to address this plague.
Already, the government is swinging into action on this. They are loving it. Here's a former Department of Justice official. This is where they're taking the president's words.
Can the FBI alone track domestic terrorism, or does it need all the agencies of government?
It needs to be approached the same way we approached, again, international terrorism after 9/11, which is working with foreign governments and foreign law enforcement and foreign intelligence agencies to track the trends, figure out who the radicalizers are, because white supremacy is not unique to the United States.
Now, do you hear what she's saying? We need to work with foreign governments. Why? Because the Fourth Amendment prohibits the government from snooping around your business in the United States. But just like they did with the FISA warrants, they use the British intelligence, Italian intelligence, any one of the Five Eyes, they'll use them and send that information to us. Then we'll go pick them up. That's what she's saying.
So this has become a global problem. We need to treat it as a global problem, which means information sharing between governments. It means information sharing between the federal government and states and locals. And it means information sharing with the public, with the American public, to help people to understand terrorism is not just Islamist extremist terrorism. Terrorism and terrorist acts of violence can be motivated by any ideology, far right, far left, anything.
Mary McCord, thank you for being with us.
Now, one more and then I'm done with the rant. This is a former Obama DHS stooge.
And yet President Trump is saying he will now give the FBI whatever they need to tackle it. So what tools do the FBI need?
Well, of course, we need, more undercover long-term investigations into those who are plotting terrorist acts. I think there's a good lesson to be learned in the Countering Violent Extremism program. We actually had the first 3 organizations in 2018 that were given grant funding. However, that funding was pulled for countering violent extremism among white nationalists. So we need to reconstitute that and have an equal distribution of funding and resources for countering violent white nationalism.
But how does the FBI track people who go online to these sites like 8chan and become radicalized incredibly quickly?
Yeah, so here in America, we have a Bill of Rights that gives constitutional protections to people. One of those is the freedom of speech. And so the FBI's hands are kind of tied until they have a criminal predicate or probable cause to investigate. So how they go about monitoring these social media websites is by contracting it out with private companies who don't have those limitations.
That's how you circumvent the Fourth Amendment. It's a beautiful system. This is outrageous. And I can't believe that. Where's Fox News on this? Where's Tucker Carlson virtue signaling about how dangerous this is? Nowhere. Is no one picking up on this? Am I an idiot? Am I overblowing it?
Well, you're definitely ahead of the pack.
Okay. I'm protective of my rights and yours.
Now, a couple of things that I wanted to, if you could back up, unfortunately, you're already past this up a mile ago, but I was intrigued, and I'm not going to say you're right or wrong about this or you're hysterical, but I was intrigued by the notion that there's an agent provocateur in the White House planting coded messages supposedly to white supremacists, although it'd be more likely to be coded by a left-winger in the White House who is slipping these terms and these ideas in, like raising the flag on 8/8
yeah,
as a tribute to Hitler. You have to be somewhat nuts to even think that. But if there's some guy in the White House because he seems to be working in concert with that guy that you had interviewed. That guy who was on the FBI guy that was on Brian Williamson.
Yes.
Told us stuff that was didn't make any sense unless there was actually something going on. And this guy knew about it as part of a concerted effort to do this, to just embarrass the president by putting in coded messages using the wrong words or
I've never seen this, Frank.
Raising the flag on 8/8.
Have you ever seen this Frank Figliuzzi before? I'd never seen him before.
Well, apparently he's on MSNBC all the time because when Brian introduced him, he says, "Welcome back."
Yeah. Well, we missed him the first time. The BBC also did something very interesting. Just speaking of coded language, and this time a little more obvious. This is from BBC World News. This is the report that came out at 1 p.m.
President Trump is heading for the sites of mass shootings in Ohio and Texas amid warnings that he will not be welcome. The shootings left 31 people dead. Mr. Trump's rhetoric has been blamed for inciting hate crimes against immigrants and ethnic minority groups.
Okay, been blamed for inciting hate crimes against ethnic minority groups. 1 hour later, this is the headline.
President Trump is heading for the sites of mass shootings in Ohio and Texas amid warnings that he will not be welcome. The shootings left 31 people dead. His visit comes amid a continuing row over whether Mr. Trump's choice of words in his tweets and speeches has contributed to white supremacist violence. The president denies this.
Oh, I guess they got a call from somewhere. Hey, you're off message, BBC. Get it back to white supremacy.
That is a great catch. I'm wondering, again, taking it back to the idea that there's a agent provocateur in the White House, and there's always been, and they tend to be lefties that are pushing an agenda. I'm thinking it's communists.
Possibly.
You laugh, but you didn't pay any attention to the DSA convention.
Oh, I'm sorry. I not only paid attention, I saw your clips. I got real clips.
You got better clips. Good. Because I lost one of my best clips because I was randomly moving stuff around, and I took out one of the files and I didn't go back and recreate it. But let's put it this way. The guy who ran Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's operation, the head of the Justice Democrats, who's now working on the Green New Deal, and he himself, regarding the Green New Deal, said it really wasn't about ecology or greenhouse gas or anything else. It's about a way to fundamentally change the economic system in the United States. That's a paraphrase, but that's what he said. And the idea that there's so many of these guys all out of the blue, they've come out of the colleges, and they're straight up Marxists. I mean, when you listen to the DSA people saying, "Thank you, comrade," time after time.
And thank you, comrade.
Thank you, comrade. That's my ISO. It's like, talk about chilling. And this is going on. Nobody is even discussing it from the left, and the media is not discussing it. They're discussing white supremacy. I think the white supremacy thing is a total red herring. I don't know any white supremacists. I don't know anyone else who does, but they're all talking as though the whole country's crawling with them suddenly and out of the blue, because as you listen to that FBI guy, he said, and by the way, this again confirms that he may be himself part of a conspiracy. He said, well, they look to Trump for his coded messages, and not, he didn't use coded, but they look for Trump as a mentor to the white supremacists. Why are they looking to Trump? Trump's not a white supremacist. He may be Jewish. His daughter's Orthodox. The whole thing is ludicrous, but it's not ludicrous if that's actually a message. You look to Trump because Trump has coded messages that he's unaware of.
Do you want to hear the full? Now, we don't have to go back to that guy. I think it's clear. Well, that would certainly be a communist or socialist way of doing things.
Communist.
Communist? Well, I'll tell you, this DSA, now whenever I see funny clips from something like that, and they were extremely funny, and we're going to play yours, and then I want to play some things that I picked up. They had taken off about 5 hours of video that they had posted to YouTube. I was just looking for one full video. Could not find anything in search. Tried Bing, tried Quant, I tried everything. Then I even succumbed to Google. I searched on YouTube. Went to noagendasocial.com. There, of course, our producers found all of the recordings, which someone had still posted to Twitter.
You for this methodology you used, but all of the clips were linked on the DSA website.
No, they took them down. When I was looking for it, they took them down. They only had one left, and that's the one I got the clips from. But let's do some of the funny stuff first, and then let's start with yours. Which one do you want to go with?
Okay, well, a couple of things were going on. There was for one thing, they spent most of their time.
Let's set the stage. This is the Democrat Socialists of America, DSA Con 2019. This is the convention of all the chapters of the Democrat Socialists of America in a hotel in Atlanta. And there was voting going on about, the actual structure, the delegates. They were, what you saw is people trying to be social justice warriors and socialists at the time, which, believe it or not, does not go together very well. Go ahead.
Well, they had a lot of, and by the way, they also employed all the old Occupy coded ways of presenting the audience. In other words, you can't clap because it might disturb somebody. The clip that I lost was the guy bitching about people mumbling to each other or even talking.
I have that one right here.
Good. I'm glad you have it.
We are going to meet
Oh, sorry.
Wait. And so you have a bunch of people twinkling. And so that's where you put your arms in the air and you wave your hands around. It's a form of applauding, but you can't. It's not this finger snapping applauding, which was used supposedly as a better way to applaud in nightclubs, harkening back to the 50s in a beatnik place. But you hold your hands in the air and you wave your hands and you wiggle your hands around, and that meant yay.
Now, just so you know, throughout and I watched it all. Throughout this, it was referred to as ASL. That's what they call it, and it is true. ASL is American Sign Language, and clapping in ASL is the jazz hands. So I don't know where you got twinkling from, but
twinkling is the word for it.
They consistently called it ASL.
Well, they can call whatever they want, but it came out of Occupy, and it was called twinkling. And there's a downward movement. I guess the Occupy people got it from American Sign Language, but I'm not sure. But I was lectured about this by JC, who knows all this stuff.
Well, he would know that it's from ASL then.
Right? It may have been mentioned. All I know is I was attracted to the term twinkling.
Is that in this clip?
No, I don't have no, because I just was describing the situation because there's none of it's in these clips. But what I have is, for example, this is a woman that's going to talk about the marshals because you can't just go to a microphone and get in line and say stuff. You have to be ordered by the marshals to be in certain order, so it's going to be very structured. And so they've had nothing but trouble with this system, so they had to add a second marshal who, if you don't like what the first marshal said, you could go appeal to him. But the thing about this is the classic milieu-driven woman who has the podium at the moment. And this is the clip of the girl. And I want you to listen carefully for the number of outrageous, uncountable times that she says and it reminds me of the other real major girls, and I have another girl coming up, but that's going to do with this, was that woman that was from NPR who talked about advertising. She was one of these in the same sounds like the same milieu to me, which doesn't surprise me that you'd have NPR in a socialist milieu going, You don't say this many times unless everybody's doing it.
This is just me noticing something out loud as the chair, and you can take me up if you wish, or you can ignore me. I have noticed that a lot of our points of information and our points of parliamentary inquiry and our points in general are coming from just about the same 6 to 8 people. I would suggest that you practice being socialist organizers and you see if you can recruit somebody else to make your point. That's usually a good indication if it's a good point to make. Second, I have received some questions about the marshals who are helping to sort of convene the progressive stack. Just so everybody is clear, the marshals at all of the mics are actually not delegates. There's been a concern that they may be politically motivated. None of them are delegates, so just putting that out there. They're not stumping for specific resolutions. They're doing the Lord Marx's work. Second, we have implemented...
Wow, the Lord Marx's work. Oh, my goodness. I don't think that's in the handbook. You're not supposed to call him the Lord, are you?
Don't know what the handbook says. I've never seen it. But the Lord Marx's work. Okay,
specific
great.
Resolutions. They're doing the Lord Marx's work. Second, we have implemented sort of a process because I have learned that there has been a lot of debate within the lines about whether the marshals' recommendations about the ordering and the stack are appropriate. So each mic now has 2 marshals. The second marshal is to settle disputes. I'm a little upset that it has come to that, but if there are disagreements in the stack about who should go first, again, there will be a second marshal there to make sure that it's an impartial decision. Let me just go through. And just so another point, the marshals are very aware that some identities are invisible. So as much as possible, they are proactively coming up to folks who are in the stack and just trying to get a sense of, who they are and where they should be. Third, I've received a lot of complaints about, I know that some people just in general really prefer to stand. I'm one of those people. I'm very fidgety. I can't sit for very long. I think that's totally fine. But I'm just going to ask as much as possible if the folks who are standing could do so in the back. It's a little distracting to people on the sides, the movement. So please do that if you plan to stand for most of our sessions.
You're killing me with this girl.
And then just again, I want to reiterate what progressive stack is. For the intents and purposes of this convention. Progressive stack is meant to ensure that people from, historically oppressed and marginalized identities, who often don't get heard from enough, not just at this convention, but also in broader society, have a fair chance to speak. It is not about sort of trading back and forth stories of who has the most relevant personal life experiences to speak to an item that's up for debate.
Oh man, this is very hard to listen to that.
Now you can stop it and let's just go to, because it continues with, I want to follow it up with this marginalized people thing is a big deal to this group. And so you have a bunch of people coming out, and everybody, by the way, does the following when they go up there. This is a 3-second clip. This is when you go up, you do this. This is the DSA speaker intro, personal pronouns. You always put this in there.
My name is Matt Rubin. I'm from Pittsburgh, DSA. My pronouns are he, him.
Yes, hello. Point of personal privilege. My name is Adam Curry, Austin, Texas. Pronouns he, haw.
Oh, brother. Okay. So there was a they, them that showed up. She was an NB. It's pretty obvious. And she had to make sure that everyone knew that she was a they, them. So let's listen to, this is the marginalized people clip that precedes the next clip, but anyway, play, this is, they're very concerned about this because if somebody was marginalized means you have taken yourself out of you maybe have autism, for example. If you're autistic, you're marginalized. If you're handicapped, you're marginalized. If you end up marginalized, you don't want to be necessarily. Maybe you do, but you are. So let's play the marginalized people thing.
And the heartbreaking work that this is taking from every marginalized person in this room. It has been hard. I spent my lunch break working with the marshals to organize some space for us to center, ground, and process the harm that has been done this weekend. Whether it's accidental or not, we need some space and time to do that. I want to invite the marginalized people in this room to meet me after we adjourn at 5 in Augusta E. It's on this floor just directly across the hall. So we can spend some time in community just processing so that we can go out and continue to organize with each other. Thank you so much for your time.
He's an or two.
And
So
you just did an yourself, my man.
You
literally.
This is the problem with getting in these milieus. You start mimicking
It's getting bad. I got to pay attention to you, comrade.
Now, so this necessarily leads to this back and forth, which is the marginalized marshals.
Point of information or clarity. Are there marginalized marshals, or are they all, like, I guess I want to know how many marginalized folks are represented by a marshal.
I don't know that I'm necessarily comfortable answering that question, especially since many identities are invisible.
Right, I understand. My main concern is not being represented and having...
Yeah, I understand. I think the best we can do is try and have a fair system where there's a second person to settle disputes. And I just really encourage people as much as possible, please respect our marshals. It's a very thankless task. And they're very, very critical to this operation we have going on right here.
Now, okay. I'm going to take over here because I got some other stuff that relates to this that happened that I think is important to find out or to hear about. First, let's really talk about, these are social justice warriors. These are not socialists. I grew up in a socialist country in the Netherlands when it was truly, really socialist, with 90% income tax, personal income tax, the whole deal. I've lived in 3 different socialist countries. This has nothing to do with how socialism works. Socialism has leaders and they tell you to shut the fuck up. And I've seen it, and that's how it's lived. This has nothing to do with socialism. In fact, all this entire conference was fundraising. Every speaker at the end, we have envelopes, and they were embarrassed to use the word Square because they had Square credit card processing. So they always, the Square thingies, whatever, you can donate. We need your money, comrade. We need to fund this. It was all about getting money. And they raised over $100,000 at this conference, all about getting money for their organization. And the rest was just social justice warrior bullcrap. Let's listen to the guy who was apparently in charge of security or order and making things go well. And he talks about this ASL, American Sign Language, hand waving, and more.
First of all, in this room, I see that no one's clapping for me. It could be because I'm not engaging, but it also is because everyone's doing this. And that's really important, because those loud bursts of noise, even though this is a noisy space, when we can do something like reducing that, that's really important. So please don't clap, shoot up these. And additionally with the noise issue, like avoid hissing, avoid waving banners, right? If you don't know what to do, show up these, right? I'm sure there's lots of ways that we can communicate to each other without needing to rely on something that's going to hurt somebody else. We have quiet rooms that are available. There's a range of options of these, right? On 7, there's one that has video but no sound, if you still want to be able to observe the convention, but the sound is an issue. There's also on Piedmont 8, a completely quiet room. One thing to note there, please don't go into that space with anything that's like an aggressive scent, for instance, right? Because that's going to be difficult for people. The principle of collective security is we don't want to put people in stressful situations that they don't consent to, right? And we have to be accountable to each other that our actions might have negative consequences for other people. We're also talking about de-escalation, right? Because people are going to have different experiences of things that some others might think is normal heatedness, and I think in some of that there's an inevitability there, but it's going to be really traumatic for people if we're not making an affirmative effort to de-escalate each other and de-escalate ourselves, right? If you are having a conflict with somebody, feel free to step away, right? We're going to make sure that you can get out of that space. Let somebody else step away if they need to step away, right? Don't talk to cops. Don't talk to MAGA assholes. We're almost there. So, but thank you.
Yes, very lovely. It's all just lovey-dovey and everyone's comrades. And don't talk to MAGA assholes. Don't talk to cops. And don't smell bad. Don't wear horrible perfume or just don't smell bad. And
hold on a second. You've made an observation that I'm going to take to the next level, which is that this was just a fundraiser.
Yeah.
This is a fundraiser for people that are marginalized. Nobody has exploited them before. In other words, the autistic, the people that don't want to smell anything.
It's a new source of revenue.
The people that you clap and you drop, and they jump because they don't like any noises at all, so they go into the silent room. These are people that are handicapped in all sorts of weird ways, and they have not been exploited for money.
Well, it happened at this conference for sure. And people inherently feel that that's going on, and then all their trigger mechanisms go into overdrive.
We are going to need a party that will organize working people to fight for the demands that we want and to win socialism. Thank you so much.
Quick point of privilege. Quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Guys, first of all, James.
Now this gentleman, him, makes a big mistake here by saying guys. He has a different point, but he starts off by saying guys. Big mistake.
Quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Guys, first of all, James Jackson, Sacramento, him. I just want to say, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum? I'm one of the people who's very, very prone to sensory overload. There's a lot of whispering and chatter going on. It's making it very difficult for me to focus. Please, can we I know we're all fresh and ready to go, but can we please just keep the chatter to a minimum? It's affecting my ability to focus. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade. Okay, is there a speaker against name, chapter, pronoun?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Okay.
Big mistake.
I lost.
Yeah, no, I know what you were angling for. But this point of personal privilege, point of information, point of debate, you can interrupt a speaker at any time as long as you say a point of something.
Is there any further debate on the Credentials Committee report?
Point.
Hold on. Point of order. Yep.
Thank you. So.
Sorry, what's your name and
My name is Trey. I use they, them, and he, him pronouns.
What?
I'm from Memphis. Thank you for asking. Nice to meet you. Sorry.
Nice to meet you.
I had a question. So, Nick? Jack? What is his name? Or what is his name? Nick J. They were elected as an at-large delegate.
But what you're hearing here is what they spent 5 hours on, is voting on all kinds of stupid, useless stuff that got nowhere because everyone kept interrupting with their point of personal privilege issues.
Before they resigned. Is that correct?
No.
No? No. Okay, then never mind.
Now, we are going to...
Point of information, could you please let us know how many delegates there are?
So they didn't even know how many delegates were there while they're voting.
Do you know that? I believe 1,057.
Thank you.
Great. Awesome. And now we're going to move on to the resolutions and
Very brief.
Committee.
Very brief point of information. If you are using a microphone, talk into it directly like I am right now, and do not wave your face back and forth because people cannot hear you. That is all.
Okay, awesome.
This is the way to say it from now on. Do not wave your face back and forth. We can't hear you at the back of the room. Anyway, they got in a big argument. The voting wasn't done properly. They tried to vote online. I'm going to skip all these clips. They're in the show notes if you want to listen to them. Then someone said, point of debate. The bylaws don't allow online voting. Oh, it just went on and on and on and on. Because these are not socialists. These are social justice warriors who put on an old army jacket. They're damaged. They are damaged. They have lots of issues, not underplaying or discounting their issues. But you're right. They were there to be exploited. And all of a sudden, the last hour, well, that changed everything. The real socialists came in from Germany, from Austria, from Japan, and from Brooklyn, one interesting one. And they were just aghast with what they had seen. They were totally, and they said it too. Here, and mind you, when the real socialists came in the last hour, there was no twinkling, no American Sign Language. People were hooting and hollering, no interruptions, point of personal privilege. I can't stand the noise, it's triggering. None of that. It was just hooting and hollering because this is the real socialists who came in, and they had a message for this group of misfits. This is the German socialist.
Following your Congress, I have to say something. You got everything to have success. So you are smart, you have got passion, You treat each other fairly most of the time. And you got the momentum. So please stay together. I know that parties sometimes have growing pains, but go forward, make it productive, and please avoid the sickness of the left, and that's the splitting. We have several examples of that in Europe, and don't do that. Don't do that. So,
because they saw it. These guys saw what was going on and like, hey, don't do that. Don't do that, eh? Don't do that, eh?
And as I'm from Germany, it's my duty to say very loud and clear, anti-fascism is no crime. It's the opposite. Anti-fascism is a duty to all Democrats. And we all together, we are anti-fascists. We are going to the streets and campaigning together for anti-fascist, democratic and social society. And if we will not do that, nobody will do the job. So our responsibility grew, and let's go on forward. And dear comrades, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you very much.
So coming here to incite violence on our streets by saying Antifa is good, it's good to be anti-fascist, take it to the streets. This guy's, these are the people who are really problematic, and you hear the hooting, the hollering. No one's getting upset about it.
What was that all about? They're all hooting and hollering
because they're LARPing children. They have no idea what they're doing.
So there's an issue I want to mention. So when I was in high school, I was one of the lucky/unlucky appointees to the Model UN. One of those kids that was in the Model UN. They have this around the country.
You were a globalist early on. How interesting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so the Model UN, or Mock UN, I think it was also called, but it's the Model UN, and every school got to send 2 representatives as though it was a country to the Model UN. And I think it was in Berkeley they had it, of course, at one of the big auditoriums at Cal. And so we all went there and stayed in a hotel. They put us up in a hotel in downtown Berkeley. And me and my pal was Bill Cady. We ended up spending most of our time tossing toilet paper rolls out the window to see if they would unravel and make a streamer. But during the Model UN, you learned Robert's Rules of Order, which have all these points of order, points of information, points of this, points of that, points of this, points of that. And there's a relatively – maybe there's about 12 of them. But in that event that you were listening to, they were making some up. I mean, there's no such thing as, point of cliche or whatever.
Point of personal privilege.
No, point of personal privilege is one of them.
Oh, point of debate, point of information.
That's one of them. Mm. I think it was point of debate or something they said that was not one of them. But all those other ones, point of order is the main one, point of information, point of personal privilege. Those are all real. And so when you went to this thing, it was a big UN assembly, and you had little signage, and you sat there like one of the UN ambassadors, I don't know what they accomplished. I do know that it kind of was childish in the way that we just witnessed with the DSA. It was a lot of point of this, point of that. Everyone's trying to show off that they know the rules, and so they wanted to say something. We didn't have the pronoun thing, obviously, but it was that's what I was reminded of. I was reminded of kind of a high school group, trying to figure out the world, and they're up there in some fake meeting. It was borderline pathetic.
And so who shows up at the end to shame these people into these sad people into giving their money to the Socialist Party is the head muckety-muck of the DSA, although maybe not by title, Linda Sarsour, our favorite Muslimah from Brooklyn. And she gave them an earful about how they were doing it wrong and they need to pony up. And she also interestingly refers to their National Political Committee vote, which has the fun acronym NPC. I just couldn't get past the irony of that. Listen to Linda Sarsour wrapping up this Democratic Socialist of America conference.
And the question that DSA needs to ask themselves is, who do you want to be? What are you trying to do in this moment? What kind of story do you want to be told about DSA?
And by the way, speak of milieu. Who does she sound like to you?
I'm not getting it right away. Well,
Wanda Sykes. She sounds just like Wanda Sykes, the comedian.
Oh, that's interesting.
Have a listen.
And the question that DSA needs to ask themselves is, who do you want to be? What are you trying to do in this moment?
Right
what
there,
kind of story do you want to be told about DSA 40 years from now? If you are here because DSA is supposed to be making you feel comfortable, you're in the wrong place. If you are here to tell DSA you need to do these 17,899 things to make me feel good, this is not the organization for you. If you are in DSA to take one collective liberation movement to divide it up into things that make you feel comfortable, this is not the organization for you. There are people who are counting on us. Literally. There are people whose lives depend on us building a political movement that is centered on values and principles and the most broken and marginalized people in this country. So, freedom in this country is not free. It's just not. So if you think that you're going to talk to me about capitalism and we got to smash the patriarchy and capital, I get that. Got to do parallel tracks because you live in a capitalist nation right now. I'm sorry to break it to you.
Right now.
And in order for us to build a sustainable movement that is worthy to the people we are fighting for, we got to get our finances together. We need money to build this movement. Right? Some of you may be like, well, I have a lot of time on my hands. I can come and volunteer. Not everybody has that time. So don't be all about you and I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't feel. It's not about you. It really is not about you. Tonight, when you're voting tonight on NPC members, you vote for the most qualified people, the most compassionate people, the most passionate people. It's not about who you like and who's in another faction and who's in another caucus. It's not about that. And if that's what you're going to do tonight, then you're proving to marginalized people all over this country that you don't give a damn about the most broken people. You only care about yourself and what you believe and what you think.
So there it is. That's the message. Give us your money, you marginalized poor people. You're no good. And shut up about your problems. Give us your money. And I think this Linda Sarsour, she's the one to keep your eye on. You know, we had the guy.
We've been keeping our eye on her. She's horrible. I will mention something, though. It's not a bad idea in terms of their approach. I just thinking about exploiting these poor marginalized people, which is exactly what this is. It's not, many of them have such a weird self-esteem issue. It's not like they have low self-esteem or high self-esteem. They have an unusual self-esteem because many of them are they-thems and they're NBs and they're non-binaries and they've been poisoned by the food supply. I don't know what happened to half of them. There's a lot of weird autistic ones there that seem functional, but they're high functional as they call themselves. They generally may be susceptible to, because this is like an insurance salesman. I've been listening to these different clips, and you have different approaches. Let me try this approach and see if I can shake some money out of these people. Let me try that approach, and let's see if I can shake some money out of these people. The Sarsour approach is they have low self-esteem. Let me tell them what they already know and condemn them and tell them that they're shit is what she did.
That's exactly what she did.
That was a very terrible thing she did. She said, you are shit. Give us your money.
Let me write this down. I'm going to see if we can try that in our newsletter.
Well, it's extreme. We don't have that many people that are that necessitate that sort of thing. But I was at one time. There was a sales guy that took a liking to me because he couldn't sell me anything. So he was an insurance guy. This is when I was in college, and I have pretty decent, not great, sales resistance. And I've run into people that I can't. There's no way I'm going to get out of it. And I just I'm out of here. Whatever you want. But most people I can resist. And if you go to the Middle East and deal with some of these Arab and Lebanese and some of these sales guys, you're just generally speaking, you're not going to lose a lot of money, but you got to pay up.
Or you don't get out alive.
You're never going to get anywhere. But with most Americans or the typical Western sales guys, they have all these tricks and they go from one to the other to the other. And this guy went through the entire litany, and he kind of ended with this condemning type of sales pitch, and he never could break me. And so eventually he said, I like you. And he bought me a cup of coffee, and that was the end of it. Which I thought was a personal victory
for you.
I had a similar situation just recently when I took my car over to get it washed at this place. I kept seeing this in Marin County. It's a washing place just off on the other side of the Richardson Bay Bridge, and it is there's cars out there and they're scrubbing them down. There's like a hand wash that has a machine augmentation. And you go, I say, I got to get my car washed there. I go in there. The guy has a sales pitch for this $500 worth $1,000 wax job where they wax your car and then they put this other stuff on, they put this other stuff on, and they put this other stuff on it. And so I got to tell the story, if you don't mind.
Wait, can I just guess the ending? Did your 25-year-old Lexus come out looking like a 2019 model?
I never bought into it because I luckily did not have any. I just was going to go to pay cash for a thing, and I didn't have $500 in cash, and that was my out. It was great. I would love to do this. I will come back and do this later, but I only have $60 in cash. And so I got to get a gas filled, and I got to get a wash. Okay, he finally gave up, realizing I was telling the truth. But one of the things he did was at the back of the car, he had half of the trunk area. He had to polish. He polished and polished and polished, and then he did a whole little section. He said, "Feel that," and you felt it. It was really smooth and clean. It was like, wow, yeah, that's great. He said, well, the whole car will be like, yeah, I don't only got $60. Okay. So I go through, it comes through the washing machine, comes out the other end. They wipe it down. They do all what they do, which is kind of interesting in itself. And then I go and I said, first thing I do is I check that area. It was no different than the rest of the car.
Wow. Close call, John. All right. Shut your shit. Give us your money. The final two clips. Now, this was a real socialist, member of the DSA, DSA Austin. In fact, I think he may even be the president now of the Democratic Socialists of Austin. They're about 800 members strong. And I wanted to play these two clips because this is, well, the first one is what the claim is that the DSA has done today for you in the American political system.
Since our last convention in 2017, DSA members have been critical to the ongoing teacher strike wave, to the election of class struggle candidates like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and we've made Medicare for All the most important issue of the 2020 national primaries.
Notice no triggering there.
Yeah, where's the twinkling?
So the claim is that they're the ones that put Medicare for All up front in the political conversation. I don't think that's true.
I know it's not true.
Who did that then?
Anybody but them.
In Austin, we've organized to win a city council ordinance for paid sick leave for hundreds of thousands of workers.
That's true.
We also organized to win a long-fought campaign that forced Congressman Lloyd Doggett, a millionaire Democrat, to sign on to the Medicare for All bill.
Pressure.
We've done so much more. Political education, canvassing for a Green New Deal, standing in solidarity with organized labor, and beyond. And now, the chair of our Health Justice Committee, Heidi Sloan, is running for Congress as a Democratic Socialist in Texas.
Good luck.
So the thing that got me, though, is his description of why he joined the DSA. But mind you, he's wearing a Bernie Sanders sweatshirt. So this is a Bernie guy, and I think this is where Bernie is going to get a lot of leverage from people of voting age, marginalized as they may be. But listen, because I think kids can identify with this message. You didn't hear this throughout the entire conference except this one time.
My life was very different before I joined DSA. As I was becoming a socialist, I didn't know how to cope with my recognition of all the problems in society. Problems that directly affect my life and those of my friends. Rent is too damn high. We couldn't get jobs or jobs with benefits. and global warming was making Texas summers even more miserable in the short term and dooming humanity, maybe even the capitalist class, in the long term. My friends also didn't know how to cope with these problems or with my constant bickering and agitating about them. I was becoming frustrated with my newfound ability to see the problems of the world alongside what I felt was my inability to do anything about it. As someone who was broke and thought about every single penny, this was a big deal to me. But it also wasn't a big deal to the table, and that's what was important, because it meant that everyone had what they needed to fully participate without the distractions of just getting by in society. By relieving some of the burdens that capitalism puts on us, we were able to devote our energy toward organizing together. This was so radically different than the life I was used to with my friends. We had a culture of Venmoing each other for every slice of pizza or six-pack of beer, and it fostered mistrust, questioning, and shame. But here, someone who could do so just got coffee and snacks for everyone, and we proceeded to have a productive meeting. What do you know? Before I knew it, I was spending 30 hours a week on DSA and trying to build a socialist movement.
Now, I think this is really telling, because this is what kids are witnessing. And I'm sure that there's frustration and mistrust and distrust with this, splitting up bills 1,000 ways, Venmoing money back and forth. I can see where kids get disillusioned by that. And they also just want free food. And so when you show up with free food, then you can reel them in. It's very weak. They're very easy to get. So that should be noted.
I think we've noted it. This has been my constant complaint about the fact you can't get a summer job anymore.
Yep.
I mean, when I was a kid, I was working summer jobs when I was 15. You had to get a work permit if you're under some age.
16, yeah.
Under 16. But at 15, if you got this permit, hey, you can go get it. You can work during the summer so you'd make money. Or there were paperboy routes. I used to have one of those, 2 of them actually. And you could make money that way. There's no such thing anymore. And it was actually taken over by people and driving around in cars, if it even exists. The whole thing has been structured over time to like eliminate all these jobs. I think that the movement toward offshoring and sending stuff to China, I think, has a lot to do with it, which Trump has been trying to correct. Which is good for him, but nobody cares about that. So they're just bitching and moaning about the fact that it's a mess, but the real causation of this situation is never addressed. It's not addressed. Where was the causation addressed to this? What are you going to do to fix the problem? Just become socialist and take everybody's money and then rip off the marginalized? I mean, this is ridiculous. But okay, I'm glad you feel comfortable there, kid.
So one final thought/comment, bring it back around to these children who are going out, apparently, allegedly shooting and killing lots of people. If these really are the pictures I'm seeing, they look marginalized. They look like they could be in the DSA. They look like everyone else there. And I've noticed an FBI statement regarding the Dayton shooter. The FBI, for some reason, said, well, this kid was really into some certain ideologies. And the statement reads something along the lines of, we're looking into the Dayton shooter was exploring violent ideologies. What are these violent ideologies? Nowhere did the FBI expand on that. But I did receive information, new shit's come to light, man, from our producers. Several people pointed me in the direction of the Bronze Age mindset, which I'd never heard of. I presume you've not heard of either. And it is a book, which you can get on Amazon / I'd say almost manifesto, about 98 pages, written by someone who calls himself the Bronze Age pervert. He does have a following, tens of thousands on Twitter. Very odd. I read through this entire thing. I don't want to jump into it today because I need a lot more parsing. I mean, this could be a joke by itself. I mean, I don't even know if this is real. It seems like it is. But this Bronze Age mindset, a lot of the tropes in this book return and are spelled out literally right down to we need to split up America into states based on race or culture or background is from this book. So that's what was in the El Paso Manifesto. It was what's in Christchurch Manifesto. It is possible there is an ideology that some of these children are latching onto, and it is very nihilist, very much like there's nothing else I can do except these 5 things, and standing up like a so-called man is one of them. And I see how it can play into people like this. So Sunday I'll dive deep into that because it's fascinating, if true. You hadn't heard of it, I presume.
No, but I'm looking at the guys, the Bronze Age Perverts Twitter page where he's got 20,000 followers, which is not that many. And it's borderline satire.
This is why I'm not entirely multiple people have sent this to me and said, this is what a lot of, quote, millennial anons are into these days. He has a podcast, too, which is even worse than the Twitter feed. I mean, I can't even, it's like some Caribbean-type accent. He says he's broadcasting from Suriname. You know, I don't know. I really don't know. But it is possible that there are other ideologies out there which could just be a hijack of kids' minds. It could be, for all I know, a programming project, and then you look. No matter what it is, you add some pharmaceuticals to the mix, and you got danger on your hand. That'll wrap it up for me because that's what no one is talking about. And why would we? Why would we?
Will.
Oh yes, no, I will. I will do one more. The reason why we never will. Let us go to Anderson Pooper from the previous podcast. This was what he claimed.
Putting out a blanket tweet when in the wake, on the day somebody has died, implying that they were on antidepressants and that's what caused their suicide, that just seems irresponsible.
Well, Anderson, I could say the same thing to you, given how many pharmaceutical companies advertise on your show.
I don't know. I've never seen the ads on my show, so I don't know what pharmaceutical companies.
Well, you might want to look at it.
But I got to be telling you,
might want to look at it.
I'm not impacted.
So when you say to me,
I'm not impacted by who advertises on my show. I don't know who advertises on my show. It's not any interest to me. I'm sure it is to people in this company, but I don't care. What I care about is people who are dying, and there's a stigma for people actually seeking medical help for something that could save their life. And, that has saved my life. And I think it's important.
So 2 things here.
Hold on a second. I just caught something.
Yeah, I know. He says it saved my life. Yeah, we didn't hear that the first time, did we?
No, I didn't.
And, that has saved my life.
Yeah, it saved his life. So antidepressants saved his life. But still, this is the problem with big pharmaceuticals. So here's a guy who's shilling for it because it saved his life. One of the lucky ones, I guess. But I don't care about advertisers. I don't know who gives a crap. It's not important unless Turner Broadcasting brings all the advertisers together once a year to do the so-called upfront, where the advertisers who Anderson Cooper has never met goes and schmoozes them to make sure that they will advertise on the stations that belong to Turner Broadcasting. CNN is one of those, all, of course, underneath Time Warner. And Anderson was there, on stage even.
Please welcome Anderson Cooper.
Thanks so much.
Do you think he noticed those people in the crowd? Did they think they were just his audience, or did they not know they were advertisers?
I know when you think about sports, you think Anderson Cooper. At Turner, our shows and stars are constantly engaging with fans. This is true across every genre, every demo, every platform, really everywhere. Turner likes to call itself a fan engagement company. Joining me to talk about this are 2 entertainment icons. Please welcome Conan O'Brien and Shaquille O'Neal.
2 other guys who know nothing about the advertisers. Nothing at all.
How are you? Sir, how are you?
And just listen to the advertising jargon, and then I'll quit it.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Why the hell are you here?
I have no idea.
The entire republic is hanging by a thread.
Well, to be honest, I guess he didn't know why he was there. He didn't know that his job there is to sell the advertisers, the big pharmaceuticals who advertise, who he doesn't know. He must have met somebody.
Wolf Blitzer's backstage eating a scone, and you're hosting this show.
Yeah, I know.
Black, white, and even whiter.
That's right.
You guys, how do they contact you if they suddenly need you? Like Trump just took a shit on the East Lawn. Why are you?
What I love about these upfronts is there are all these terms that I don't know what they mean, like premium engagement, everything Kevin O'Reilly said, I don't really understand. Like differentiator, digital custom experience,
cord cutter.
Well, maybe that's his tactic. Maybe Anderson just doesn't know anything. But he certainly was there.
It's very funny, by the way, just before you leave that clip, it's funny that Conan, who's irreverent, he doesn't care.
No.
I mean, he got something like $30 to $80 million from NBC when they fired him. And he says cord cutter.
That's a big
just
no-no.
To piss off somebody.
Yeah, but again...
Well, Anderson, I could say the same thing to you, given how many pharmaceutical companies advertise on your show.
I don't know. I've never seen the ads on my show, so I don't know what pharmaceutical companies.
Well, you might want to look at it.
But I got to be telling you,
might want to look at it.
I'm not impacted.
So when you say to me,
I'm not impacted by who advertises on my show.
Oh, well, okay. I guess you are, Anderson, because you had to go show up and do the Dog and Pony show. Liar.
That's a good catch.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in Comrade John C. Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning, trolls. How you doing? Good to see you all there at noagendastream.com. Very helpful today. The trolls are all over everything. You can join them. We have over 1,000 listening in live. NoAgendaStream.com, not just for the No Agenda show, but for all of our programming on NoAgendaStream.com, which is quite extensive. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and always fellow trolls to go hang out with. Big in the morning as well to Adam at Sea, who is not gone. We've pulled, this is the second piece of evergreen art we've had to use. It was the 33 on the side of I think a container or container ship, and
no, I think it was on. I think it was the side of a crane.
Oh, a crane. I'm sorry, you're right. Adam at Sea is alive and well and active. He's on noagendasocial.com actually, but he brought us that artwork. It was from I think episode around the 600s.
Yeah, it was an oldie.
It was really an oldie because we could not find anything appropriate. For the episode. The episode was titled Replacists, and it just wasn't there. There was just nothing that really hit us. We had
well, there was one piece I liked, but you didn't like.
Which piece was that?
Well, I'm going to have to reveal the sordid information.
Oh no, you liked the Portland campers, and I just thought it was. It wasn't very visual, very small.
You thought it was too small.
Too small, mainly.
Small.
Yeah,
it wasn't exaggerated enough.
And everything else was just, they stop with the faces of politicians. It's really not funny anymore.
We're not going to use them.
No. Just not everything was. It just
with the one
great.
I did use in the newsletter, and I still think is usable for album art, is the Buttigieg as Alfred E. Newman.
We used that one on the last episode, on the previous one.
No, we didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. No, we used the Muppet one. I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah, but I didn't like Buttigieg. It was just.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you about that piece of art. And I did use it on a newsletter, and I wouldn't mind using it again. I went online and found all the art of turning Buttigieg into Alfred E. Newman. Mm-hmm. And this piece was so far superior in the way it was photoshopped to make it look like it was Buttigieg looking at Alfred E. Newman. There was nothing out there that even compared to it.
Oh, it was a good piece. Politicians on our artwork is tired. The funniest one was George Bush and Obama morphed together, and after that, I think it was just kind of done.
No, there was a good one with Jeb Bush and those eyeglasses.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, no.
This is
yeah,
a minor. This
now
is
you get me to say yeah, no.
I'm going to get you to say This is a Democratic primary. These people are not really all that important on an international scale, for sure.
I'm trying to find the Alfred E. Newman one because I forgot the artist. I think it was I don't want to say it was Mike Riley, but it was one of our better guys.
Or Darren. Might have been Darren.
I don't know. I'm sure it wasn't Darren. Darren doesn't do that type of thing. This is really one of these things. I know how this kind of how it was done. I don't think I could do it, but I can't find it. I'll keep looking and find it later.
Well, anyway, we do want to thank all of our artists for giving it a good shot, a good try. As you can see, artwork does make it into other avenues of the show. And No Agenda.
Joshua Pettigrew.
Oh, yes. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com is where you can upload your art. Now, we've had, who knew, one shout out for headless Drupal developers since Sir Paul, who's been running the art generator diligently, needs help. I think we have at least 30 offers, maybe more, of people who are experts in Drupal and specifically headless Drupal. Very surprising.
I was stunned by this.
Have you sent these names on to Paul?
No, I'm still got queue. I got one more name to put. I got to put them in a file and then send them over to Paul. It'll take me another few days.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, everybody. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Important work as a part of our Value for Value network, where you can contribute value in many ways. We're just like the DSA. Give us your art. Wave your banners. Give us your flags. And please, comrades, some of you need to support us. And we'd like to thank them, except we take it into a capitalist mode, and we call them executive producers and associate executive producers after our fine capitalist entertainment system.
Yes, exactly. It's exactly true. So they actually get credit.
Yeah. Unlike the comrades who would not give you credit.
The comrades get no credit because it's communism. Hello. Our Lord Marx.
Our Lord Marx. What he said, yeah.
We got actually a balanced show today with 3 executive and 3 associate executives, starting with Anonymous from Athens, Georgia. Came in with $686. He won't get credit because he's anonymous. $686. Hello from FEMA Region 4. I've been listening for about 4 months now, and I'm afraid that I may have overstayed my sampling status and crossed into douche status. So I need to request a de-douching, please.
All right. Let me grab the douche bucket and the de-doucher. Here you go.
You've been de-douched.
Ooh, shiny. Last month, JCD claimed that the No Agenda Show is a public benefit podcast. Yes. I agree 100%. In order to memorialize this designation, please accept my donation of $686. Thank you for keeping me companies on my long daily drives. Oh, good. A commuter. Anonymous in Athens.
Is there any knowledge behind the 686 number? Is this?
He never said. He never said. If you look it up, maybe, or maybe someone in the troll room would know immediately what 686 refers to.
Okay.
Sir J.B., the night of Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, in Clarksville, Maryland, 360.08. ITM Crackpot and Buzzkill, my donation of $360.08 yesterday, plus my recurring monthly donations, which has been sent out today by check, makes me a baron today. Actually, I need you to kick in a penny to make it official. There it is. I also, reminds me of the old Sprint commercials. It also, my birthday today. I don't know if he's on the birthday list.
Yes.
So all around, it's a big deal for me on today. 8/8, No Agenda Show. It's also our anniversary, Mimi and I, 8/8/88.
Yes, happy anniversary.
And which is 8, by the way, is a Chinese lucky number. One of the big ones, the biggest one.
It's also something with, I don't know, Heil Hitler or something, I heard.
No, Heil Hydra.
Oh, sorry. I got it wrong. Yeah.
So we're having a meetup today in Berkeley at the Gilman Brewery at 5 to 8. I figured good time to come and be about 6. First, I heard Adam on the Howard Stern show in 2010. I believe it started listening at that point around episode 200. My first donation was on 2/27/2012 for $5. And yes, I was a douchebag prior to that. Then I went on to monthly payment plan. He goes on and on about this, by the way. I have listened to nearly every show since 2010, and I can unequivocally say I am better for it as I see through the BS with your help. I used to be a Republican, switched to Libertarian, and then switched to unaffiliated per JCD's comments on a show about being able to vote for anyone in a primary. I no longer catch Fox News, MSNBC, or CNN. They all make me sick. I have also used numerous tips over the years from both of you, including one of my favorite TSA travel tips from Adam by faking I had a bad shoulder. That was actually, I think it was on
can't raise my arms.
Can't raise my arms. Being radiated by the first generation of backscatter machines. I have hit multiple people in the mouth over the years, including coworkers, friends, and Uber Lyft drivers. We need more of them. I think I've had the most luck with the rideshare drivers, which is sad, but it's amazing that conversations you can have when looking through the no agenda lens with everyday people. Of course. Second, I urge the other cheap bastards, you know who you are, to donate because the amygdala are growing out of control and will become giant heads before too long. I have a couple of douchebag call-outs for some of the people I know who listen but barely donate. At least I don't think they donate. Sorry in advance if you do, and then he goes on. Here comes the call-outs. George. Douchebag. Eric. Douchebag. Mitch. Douchebag. And Sip and Dip. Douchebag. Third, I have a beef with the roundtable chef. We always have mutton and meat, and the mutton was especially grisly last time I was in town. So I have a request for this week. I'm making a surprise appearance at the roundtable as you're becoming a baron. I would like to request for today's roundtable Maryland crab cakes and a 6-pack of Natty Boh for each night in attendance to pair with it. What's Natty Boh? Do we know?
I don't know, but I it's here. He dropped off the box, so I haven't looked in it.
I don't know if I'd want to. Natty Boh. Anyway, we'll just skip ahead. I'm sick and tired of only eating in Italian restaurants on vacation and the champagne-shaped bathtubs, heart-shaped.
Oh, he's in the Poconos. He's giving up his baronet of the Poconos title, and he now wants to become Baron of the Chesapeake Bay and the Outer Banks of North Carolina. That's why we have Maryland crab cakes instead of cheap Chinese crab cakes, as he states. Quite a long note, Sir JB.
Yeah, and we'll wrap it with Sir JB, Knight of the DMV, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, not the Department of Motor Vehicles.
And he wanted a Reverend Manning money shot and respect.
That's a sure enough money shot. Woo, Jesus. Woo, Lord. Look at that. That's a money shot. Kellyanne Conway is a money shot.
RESPICT. You've got karma.
Thank you very much. See you at your title upgrade, Sir JB.
Now we have great. We have a donor who, unfortunately, to go look at the artwork.
Baby. Oh, yeah, baby. He's lost the note, ladies and gentlemen. That means he's got to go over to his web browser. It's Internet IE 3.0. That's right. We're going to connect to the squirrel mail. We're going to find your note because we got a search function. Just plop it into the search box, type in the name. It'll come out because this is the only way you can go through mail. It is the best product in the universe. We call it one and only.
Yeah, actually, I just logged in.
That is a 32-second bed for your convenience, and you just now logged in.
It's slow today. I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's like really painfully slow. He's been getting DNS attacks recently. Veseley. How do you spell that?
Vesely. Rudolph.
Rudolph. Here it is. Came right up.
The magic of squirrel mail.
Last time I gave my written note with a donation to Adam during a meeting in London 2 months ago. I was pleasantly surprised that Adam well pronounced my name. This time I'm sending the note to you since I want you to hear you butchering my last name.
It's a feature of the show.
Rudolph Vesely?
I think that's right. Vesely.
I don't know.
It could be Vesely, but I think it's Vesely.
Well, it could be Vesely. If he's in Russia, I would think it would be Vesely. Vesely, what do you care? This time I sent out. I listened NA only from episode 1074, so I didn't catch if you ever described the origin of your surname. Is it Czech or Slovak? It's Czech. You should finally learn the correct pronunciation. Well, this is debatable. And with a name like Vesely, which indicates a Russian origin, the Russians pronounce Dvorak, Dvorak. And in much of Czechoslovakia is pronounced Dvorak, and the American pronunciation is Dvorak, period. And the progenitor of the name, the fame of the name for the American pronunciation is Anne Dvorak, the famous actress from the 30s. And that would be that. So anyway, onward. That no call, no
nothing.
Anything.
He just want
no jingles, no nothing. But he came in with $353.33. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rudolph.
Now the next we talked about long notes. So we have Sir Morgan of ANSI C, who came in with. I see. I had to click on these boxes. $303.03. Oh, that's interesting. We do have three of these because it's 3 and 3. Apologies in advance for writing War and Peace. Please feel free to paraphrase appropriately. Okay. This is actually kind of good. Regarding Hong Kong, we're on strike here today. So she's in Hong Kong. So I have some time to write up a small explanation of the situation to the best of my ability from someone who is technically not a constitutional lawyer. Hong Kong was handed back to China. Okay, we have that. We know about most of this. Under the promise of 2 countries, 1 country, 2 systems, the agreement was codified in the basic law, which is often called our mini constitution. Okay, I got to skip ahead here. Only candidates that run for chief executive are approved by the CCP, and the final vote is actually done by an electoral college of parties. No, we don't need this.
Well, I'm a little interested in what he says up front. Having been knighted on the back of a double credit donation promotion, I've felt ever since that I was in some way relegated to the kids' night table. I guess this was back episode 1000. We had the BOGO.
Yeah, we had well, I don't know how he would feel that way. Like, he's made up for it.
Well, yeah, what he says is, even though he was knighted because it was with a promotion where a double credit, he feels like he was kind of at the kids' night's table, like a teenager at Thanksgiving. He says, I know the round table isn't so judgmental, but it's been eating away at me, so no longer can I withstand this dishonor. With this donation, I will move from squire to a true knight. I recommend other producers in my situation do the same. So
there's been a number of people that made this complaint, and there's been a movement actually among some of the knights to hound these guys into actually totaling their.
Oh yeah, man, you're not a real knight, man. Wow. Now, the No Agenda staff and management consider it to be full-on knight status, but we understand your grievance, comrade, and as a point of personal privilege, I have no problem.
We're going to talk about the Hong Kong situation later in the show.
Yes, appreciate your note, because I did take some of that as information for you in the show.
Yeah, we got Catherine Sutton send us some stuff. We have a lot of information.
And I want to give Sir Morgan of ANCC a big karma.
You've got karma.
Dropping down to associate executive producer, we got Chris Harabarik in Courtice, Ontario, Canada, 24329. With this donation of 333.33 Canadian.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, we have to bump him up.
Yeah, he's bumped up to, this is the rule. When you have Scandinavian dollars, New Zealand dollars, or Australian dollars, also known as wampum, if you donate at the executive producer level, you get that even though it translates to, wow, 333.33 Scandinavian is only 243.29.
Time to go shopping.
Real dollars. Yeah, no kidding.
All right, so he says, give myself a sweet new show credit. In the process, I would like to be knighted Sir Acid of the Scandinavian Woods. A little Beatles reference there, I think.
Yeah.
And I do hope to find anime and ambrosia waiting for me at the round table.
What is ambrosia?
Ambrosia. Well, that's a good question. It's something.
Okay.
Hey, look it up.
Thanks, bro. I'll look it up. Yeah, I will.
Look it up. Having worked my way eastward since my previous donation, this is my first donation of mine from my new house, but hopefully from the last. However, not all is well here at the manor, as my father's been in the hospital for over a week, making things worse in that regard. A lump around one of his lungs, which can't be biopsied until he gets better. Because of this, I'd like to request a fuck cancer in hopes that whatever it is inside him turns out to be benign. I would also like to request jobs karma as I see myself re-entering the market before year's end. Thank you once again for putting on the best podcast in the universe, and here's to the many more seasons of the two of you protecting our amygdalas. Chris Hara Barak, formerly of Pickering, now of Courtice, Ontario.
And he will be at the round table later on. Ambrosia, not only a heavy metal band from the 80s, but also an American variety of fruit salad.
Oh, yeah.
I would have expected you to know that.
Fruit salad. Well, the Canadians still eat stuff like that.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Hold on. I got to do his things here.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Michael Ursini in Boston, Massachusetts, $200.01 donation on behalf of Robert Reichenberg to tip the karma scales toward recovery, which means I'm guessing a karma.
Yeah, we got that right here.
You've got karma.
Now we have Nisa Norell at $200, and she didn't send a note here, so I am going to do one of these fabulous searches that I can do in Squirrel Mail. You don't have to play the theme again.
No, now that you're logged in, you should have ample time to go search for something.
2 R's, E-L-L? Yeah, I think so.
It's yes, Norelle.
Oh, N-O and 1 R.
Norelle.
Oh, okay. Got it. Do a search. What?
No, I mean, I usually do this before the show.
I usually do, too.
What happened?
But I got to a late start, as you could tell, because I was still eating breakfast.
Yes.
You know, one of the, by the way, this is a tip for people. If you, many systems, not all of them, but many systems, if you don't spell the word right, the search won't work. This is a high-end tip for everyone.
Do tell, is this the issue with Squirrel Mail? It's not Boolean?
You have to just...
No regex you can enter in there? No wild cards you can try?
Well, there's apparently no note in my mail.
I looked. I use Outlook. I have nothing.
Well, you have nothing if you use Outlook. Anyway, for Nisa in Phoenix, Arizona, $200 with thank you. Give her a karma, and then we'll...
Of course. If you have a note, send it on to us.
You've got karma.
And it's always a good idea to send it to both John and myself. We'd rather double up and have it twice than miss something. And I miss them too. I miss notes sometimes too. So if you send it to both of us, even though there is a field on PayPal where you can enter it. You just have to keep your eyes open. It's not always apparent depending on what path you took to get into it.
It shows right up, but what happens, I think if you hit the return key, I think it sends it. It's one of those, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, there is an interface issue somewhere within that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I want to thank all these folks, 3 and 3, of helping produce show 1162.
My name is Felix Wilson, and my daddy is a douchebag. But he wasn't always a douchebag. Life just got in the way, and now it makes me sad to say this. Daddy, you're a douchebag. You can easily cure this, and so can you. Stop being a douchebag. Go to Dvorak.org/NA and donate now. No child deserves a douchebag parent.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Well, now that you know that you may or may not want to join the Democrat Socialists of America, propagate.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Thank you, Comrade.
Shut up, slave.
And thank you, Felix. And Sir Chris.
Kind of an
yes.
off-cut. Well, not completely off topic, but there was a really funny hour interview with David Icke.
Oh, a new one?
Yeah, it's pretty new. It's it's called Talk Radio or something. It's one of the channels, and it's a very famous interview. His name I can't remember, but he let Icke talk, which is instead of just making him look silly or saying stupid things about what he had to say. But Icke had this unusual tale of woe, because he talks about 5G pretty much with the same opinion of things that we have, and this is his. This is a little long, but it's worth it because of the punchline. This is 5G and trees.
We're talking about a communications network. You've heard of 3G, 4G. We're now on to 5G. David Icke, the alternative thinker on all of these things, was giving his view on that. And just to expand on that, David?
Well, a few weeks ago, there were hearings on Capitol Hill in which representatives of the telecommunications industry were questioned. And there was a senator, Senator Blumenthal, who asked them openly, how much money have you spent funding independent research into the effects of on the body, on health, on psychology of 5G? And they sat there and had to admit not a single cent. And this 5G is being rolled out so fast, and it's not the same. People think, and I understand it, that they think it's just a step on from 4G. It actually operates in another band of frequency called millimeter waves. And because millimeter waves do not travel very far, instead of having like big transmitters transmitting this stuff over a long distance, you're going to have, like they are having already as they introduce it in America, little boxes on the lamppost down the street pumping this stuff out. And the other thing is that this 5G doesn't travel well through solid objects, like urban trees, for instance, are the worst nightmare of 5G, which kind of interests me with this phenomenon that I'm picking up all around the place, not least in Sheffield, where thousands and thousands of urban mature trees are being cut down. It caused a big scandal in Sheffield, where
and they
thousands
say they're being
down.
cut down, don't they? Because they interfere with the foundations of houses. And
yeah.
You right? Interesting.
Well, my brother is a bus mechanic. He goes out and he repairs buses on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So he's constantly travelling all the time, every day. And he said to me independently, there's these big old trees being cut down everywhere. So whether that's connected, I'm open to that. But the fact is, 5G would not like mature urban trees.
Oh, that's an interesting take.
I never heard this before. I mean, we got the bees is the most recent thing that apparently kills bees.
Yeah, but the number of times I've seen the bee story, it was back when 4G came in the Netherlands. I'm like, okay, and just completely nonsense articles. It's always in the Netherlands.
Well, it's usually birds.
But you've got the birds too. It's like,
the birds and the bees. But the tree thing is true. It's true
that they're cutting them down.
No, I don't know. They're not cutting them down around here because we haven't got 5G. But it's true that the waves won't penetrate a good tree.
Sure.
No way it would. But somebody in the chat room, or not the chat room, but in the comments said, no, it's not about cutting the trees down for penetration because we can get the 5G signals through. It's just that it'll be noticeable
because
how the 5G's killing the trees.
The trees will be killed. Well, A couple notes about that. In the United States, it appears that most telcos are not going on the millimeter wave. They're going in so there's like a longer wave segment, which is, I think it really is in the 5 gigahertz band, which is closely equal to what some Wi-Fi is at home. The higher frequencies, I think those will be deployed in the cities. That's where they make the most sense. They don't make a lot of sense for real urban areas. So it's a different. I guess what I'm saying is a different situation in each different country, and I'm not sure what we're really going to get in the United States. There was a presentation that was not worth clipping because it was a boring scientist with 5 minutes of slides. I'll put it in the show notes. Where he says you're not really going to see the damage because the damage is at a deeper level. It's to your DNA. Which, of course, is also something we've heard about the backscatter millimeter wave body scanners at the airports. So I don't, at this point, I don't know. I don't know who's speaking the truth. It's I don't like any of it. I only have one Wi-Fi point in the entire house. That's it. No other gimmicks, gadgets, gizmos. No more lights. None of this stuff. I got rid of all of it. And just to keep in vein with the OTG, I've actually been. I told you I was testing with the iPhone 5 cloaked, and I'm very happy with the results of this. Now, of course, I have no apps. I have only the native apps that the iPhone comes with.
You got to back up. Because I only can remember a little bit of this, but you ended up with an iPhone 5, which a lot of people think is the best iPhone ever made.
Well, some will say the 4, some will say the SE, but iPhone 4 only does 3G. And I don't want 5G, but LTE 4G is kind of required if you want to do anything. And the whole idea is to make this phone very difficult and slow to use so you won't use it, because human nature is, I got my phone right here, I'll just look it up real quick. So you don't want that. But in an emergency, yes, you do want to be able to either use your phone as a hotspot, which the iPhone 5 will do, or you want to have some kind of bandwidth and processor speed that will allow you to use the built-in web browser. Now, none of this works unless you get what I call the pie hole for the iPhone, which is the Security Pro app. And there's multiple ways to do it. This is the way I chose to do it. And you can set it up so it doesn't let anything through or anything out. So and you can watch it. You can see what it's blocking. You can see what the DNS requests are. And that's why I call it cloaked. And I'm very happy it's not pinging anything. At least it's not getting out of the machine. There's no external apps to Apple that are on it. So I have email. I have text messaging. I have a phone. Also, this is the lowest end model available that will pair with my hearing aids. So that was a big consideration. And because it's not pinging in or out, the battery lasts for 5 days.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. The battery life must be extended by quite a bit. There's big batteries in there, and they don't last a day normally.
Here's the problem, though. If you do use the phone for a web browser, it's doing double duty because it's also running this relatively heavy process of stopping. It's duplicating DNS. It's determining what needs to be blocked or not. So if you use it, it's going to deplete faster than you'd expect. So you're not going to use it. That's the whole point. Text messaging, and that's all I really use it for, is text messaging, maybe just to check an email from time to time. And 5 days. It's fantastic. I feel very safe, at least from Silicon Valley snooping, because we know that's the way that the government is now looking at you, especially with these red flag laws. They just buy it from the social media companies. They buy it from Google. They buy it from the data brokers. They don't need to go spying. You're giving it up willfully. So I'm going to write this up, the cloaked iPhone 5, which is how I like to call it. I still love the Nokia E71, but for some functionality when necessary, the iPhone 5 may be the way to go. About $150 on Amazon. So it's a comparable price. you're really not being. Oh, of course, you have to turn off location and don't install Google Maps just in case. All of that has to go. In fact, no Google site will work on my machine because I blocked them all. Same for Facebook, Twitter, all those little widgets and pixels. All of that's blocked.
Well, I've done kind of the same thing with my old Google phone, and I get my battery life's about 2 weeks.
That's pretty good, especially for the older.
Because it's off all the time.
Now, I have some bad news in the OTG department. OTG stands for off the grid. Now we're both, and I really learned it from you. We're both big fans of over-the-air digital television, which we have here in the United States.
Yes,
every modern television does it. You get a $9 antenna. It sticks right behind your set on the wall, and you can receive a lot of Spanish and Asian channels, but you can
a lot of Vietnamese channels too here.
You can get your your main network channels, and it's good and it's free. It's just over the air, comes in for free, so you can have maybe one subscription service you want. And for all the other stuff, you can. It's out there, and it's digital. It's high definition, and it's also a non-tracked system. It's one way. It's broadcast, so no one knows what you're watching.
I should mention the bandwidth is also higher than you get from cable, which is compressed. This is uncompressed with full stereo, uncompressed video. It's a better picture.
Well, they're going to fuck it all up.
Well, of course.
And it's called ATSC 3.0. Here is Steve Moulter. I don't know who he is, but he did a pretty decent overview from the most recent National Association of Broadcasters meeting in Las Vegas on the new digital standard, which will not only replace this fine, non-trackable system that we're using, but it will be built into your phone.
It's not just about a prettier picture, but it's about interactivity. What can you do with your TV set? What sort of experience can you have that will compete with streaming or over-the-top capabilities? Imagine your TV combined with a set of really powerful apps all happening on the same screen and using the exact same remote. Very cool. So let's say you turn into your favorite show and it started 20 minutes ago. You could start over again and watch that show from the top. Instead of just basic video on demand, like we're used to right now, you can access a video on demand library for streaming, including current events or special programming, maybe the Super Bowl or the Grammys. One of the ATSC 3.0 features is Dolby Dialogue Enhancement. Very cool. You can actually change the level of the dialogue without affecting the background music or the background noise.
By the way, that's a smart feature. That's what kids need.
Maybe you're at a party, you're at a bar, you've got a bunch of kids playing nearby, you can't quite hear the dialogue. You can just turn up the dialogue and it doesn't affect anything else. Even the programming guide is totally different. You don't just get what is coming up in the future, you can also see what happened in the past, and you can catch up with shows that you missed. We can do all this over streaming today, but imagine being able to do it over broadcast network while you're watching regular television. Let's say you're watching a game and you want to know more about the stats in the game or the players. You just press a button, pops up in real time. Same thing if you're watching a television show. Say you want to know about the actors or the director or the cinematographer. You just pull it right up in picture on live broadcast with live television. One of my favorite things, multiple viewer angles from the camera. Let's say you're watching that game. You can command where you see that broadcast coming from in live TV. Also great for reality TV programming. And then you got coupons and promotions that can be sent to you in your favorite shows, linked to your favorite content. So much cool stuff.
Told you they fucked it up.
Yeah, they're not doing any of that.
Well, let me tell you why they will, because this is a desperate final attempt to make these frequencies usable before they have to somehow, be eliminated or whatever it is, because this is about interactive ads, about targeted ads. I won't bore you with all the technical details, but really, you're getting stuff in real time, and they're adding all kinds of gizmos. They've changed the compression algorithm, so I'm sure you're also going to lose some of the quality. It doesn't really speak about that, but that's how you'll be able to separate out the middle channel, the center channel, to enhance dialogue, which should be a feature these days on anything. That's how you'll get multiple camera angles. That's all live events, and then they will essentially use the IP portion of your phone to route packets if you're doing something on demand or if you're catching up. So it's really only about a target, addressable advertising. And he doesn't mention this, of course, because this is for the consumer, this video. But they're doing it. It is definitely happening.
It's too expensive. They're not doing it.
Well, there's a lot of money and the big companies who say they're doing it, so I think they're doing it.
Everyone talks everyone's doing it. They always say they're doing it. This reminds me of Ford, and they decided that they're going to tell everyone they're going to do a 6-door Ford Explorer or whatever this giant thing was, and they showed pictures of it. And everybody got they're doing it, so we have to do it. So everybody started designing these 6-door SUVs. None of them came to market, but and it was all because Ford was full of crap. They weren't going to do it in the first place. And I think this is the same thing. They're not going. It's too expensive.
Okay, we'll see. I can wait.
I mean, I've heard the same thing about all this interactive advertising, and all you have to do is you're watching Friends, and during the Friends era, you're watching Friends, and you want to know what Rachel's wearing.
But they're actually they're doing that today. I mean, Invid is doing it today. They are doing addressable set-top boxes. This is happening.
Yeah, a set-top box version of it, but over the air is not going to be affected by this because they're not affordable. They got enough problems with changing the digital cost them a mint. In fact, Sinclair Broadcasting, the cheapest group amongst them all, and they own most of the stations in the country, they didn't want to do that. They made a big fuss and pushed it off as long as they could before we went digital, which probably was a good thing because the early days of HDTV was an analog system, which would have really broken the backs of everybody.
All of this tracking is causing changes in the consumer marketplace. We've had alternative search sites for a long time. I use Quant, QWANT, Quant.com. The Sear X, which I liked a lot, but I find there's some security issues if you're not hosting it yourself, and you're still very trackable. And now the alternative sites are coming out and attacking each other of tracking and targeted advertising, and perhaps even being in bid with the big shill. This is the CEO of the search company Yippee, Yankee India Papa Papa India Echo, Yippee.com. And he's slagging off DuckDuckGo.
With Google bias, censorship, and privacy concerns, some internet users are looking to alternative search engine options like DuckDuckGo. One American News spoke with Rich Granville, CEO of private search engine company Yippee. Granville says even search engines that claim to provide privacy are still sharing your data.
Search is the most informative and the most influencing media there is in the world. Google controls just about 90% of all searches. DuckDuckGo talks about their privacy, right? They're saying that we're a private search engine. Well, I mean, if anybody has 6th grade developer tools, they can go into DuckDuckGo and they will see tracking cookies in DuckDuckGo.
Tracking cookies are bits of data a website sends to a computer through search engines like Google or Chrome. That DuckDuckGo advertises its search engine does not track users is, to Granville, highly suspect.
And they offer targeted advertising through their search engine. So if you search for plumber in your particular city, you're going to get an ad for plumbers in your particular city. It's called geolocated advertising. So if you are a private search engine, you cannot have advertising that's geo-targeted. You can only provide advertising that is general.
A New York Times article bolsters DuckDuckGo's claim that it does not track behavior. Like other search companies, writes the Times, DuckDuckGo displays ads at the top of each search page, but unlike others, it does not track the online behavior of its users to personalize the ads. Granville says this is an odd claim.
But what I can tell you is that they have targeted advertising and they have 2 cookies on their site. Somebody's tracking you. DuckDuckGo may not be tracking you on their servers, which I find hard to believe, but certainly they're handing that information off to 2 other cookies, and who knows what those companies are doing, which I suspect is Google, and who Google is selling that information to on down the line.
DuckDuckGo has not responded to OAN's requests for comments as of this broadcast.
And I also have not verified these cookies, but I found it more interesting that there's now competition in the alternative search marketplace. And this, to me, actually sounded more like a native ad. I felt it was more It was more advertorial than editorial or investigative, and it's on One America News. They must have to make their money somehow. I don't think many people watch.
Well, Trump recently gave them a big plug.
Oh, really? Well, then they upped the rates or something. They gave them a special. So I'm not too sure about the claims of Yippee. Yippee sells their...
Never heard of Yippee.
Well, now you do. And the search is pretty good, actually. Now, they have a consumer-facing search, but they're really a search company. They sell their search capabilities to companies. I haven't checked out any of the image results or anything like that, but it's fast and it does work.
I'll look into it.
But on the native ad front, and I just wanted to share this last one, one of our producers sent me a note and said, hey, you could build an OTG phone really cheap, and then you could use it as a premium. Just look at the Wall Street Journal. They're selling a Wall Street Journal $70 smartphone. So I'm like, really now? I go over to the page. There's a 5-minute video. I'm like, well, this is fantastic. What could they possibly say about this? What a revolution.
Introducing the Wall Street Journal Smartphone 1. We don't have a splashy celebrity ad campaign, but we made this phone. And all it took was a short journey over the border to a Chinese city just north of us here in Hong Kong. The city of Shenzhen has become a mecca for electronic parts and talent, leading to new Chinese brands coming up from nowhere and grabbing market share from Samsung and Apple.
Are you getting the point yet?
Thanks to the Pearl River Delta's low-cost, ready-to-go supply chain, building a custom smartphone is not that difficult. That's exactly how we made the WSJ1, which is only $70. It runs Android, has a touchscreen display, front and back camera, fingerprint reader, and it even takes 2 SIM cards and an SD card. There are thousands of factories in China's Pearl River Delta region that build products.
Well, I could play it for the next 5 minutes. It's an ad for Shenzhen's ready-to-go supply chain.
Yeah, of course.
It even tricked one of our producers into thinking this was some kind of... This is a 70-cent smartphone, by the way. This really... But there was no ad. It didn't say advertisement. It was just right there on a...
stopped doing... Everyone stopped doing that.
You don't have to say it's an ad anymore if it's a native ad?
You don't have to say anything.
Whoa. I thought you had to at least disclose it.
Who would make this?
The Governmental Advertising Oversight Emergency Board?
There's nobody that says you have to do this or you have to do that.
Oh.
So they decided nobody's noticing. Sometimes they slip it in somewhere. There's some little mention. There's a little – it's like when you do an April Fool's gag. Somewhere in there you should have Lurpa Sloof – spokeswoman, or you should have some code date 4/1, whatever the year
8/8.
8/8, yeah. Hail Hydra. It's like no, and they're at the point now where they're not going to do this because many outlets that you think that were once legitimate news gathering organizations are pretty much just native ad organizations. It's the way to go. If you're a publisher, why should you even be paying people? Why even have a reporter when you could just buy some native ads and put them up? And not only that, but instead of paying somebody, they're paying you. Woo! How can you beat that?
Yeah. By the way, I made a mistake. Yippee is yippy.com. And one additional caveat I forgot to mention, it is powered by IBM Watson. So now I know. No, now I know it was a native.
So it's going to be slow.
It's going to be slow and wrong. But if you type in no agenda, we're the first page, and that's all I care about.
Okay, well that's a plus.
That's the most important thing. We're running a little late, but
so in other words, this is IBM slipping into the game.
Oh yeah, I think that's what it is.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, IBM used to have. I remember about when I visited their facilities in San Jose. They had a proprietary search engine during the early era of Google that was better than Google. It was only used in house, and I kept asking them, "Why don't you guys commercialized.
I remember you talking about that. I remember this story. Did they not like fold that into Lotus Notes or some stupid stuff like that?
No, they never did. It never got out anywhere as far as I could tell, but it was really had a good bunch of, I guess they had a lot of worms out there digging around, putting stuff together, and they had a server farm, but it only was used internally. I don't know that it ever got into the wild. Maybe this is it.
Well, you know what we should do? We should do the ultimate John C. Dvorak search engine test. We go to yippee.com and we want to say, what is the best weed whacker?
Weed whacker.
That is the test. And I'm going to, so powered by IBM Watson. Oh, they're public. Ticker symbol yippee. YIPI. I didn't know. Oh, geez. All right. We hit it. And what do we get? Search. Okay. Let's see, the first link, best weed whackers of 2019, best string trimmers. It's all reviews, 2018 consumer search. So it's not giving me answers per se. What is the best battery-operated weed trimmer? You know what? There's not. It doesn't seem like there's any ads in here, which maybe that's good.
Well, there's something going on. I'll look.
And they have something called Cluster.
Conundrum.
They have Cluster on the. This is interesting. Anyway,
we'll everyone should play with this for a while and report back.
Yes,
we have a lot of dudes named Ben that are really good at this stuff.
So let's stay in China for 1 second. Even though we're running a little behind, I think we should do Hong Kong.
Yeah, I have a few Hong Kong clips, and first I want to just discuss Hong Kong for a second because we got a lot of. I looked at a lot. There is a lot of stuff out there. And it seems that there's two theories, and I'm subscribing to one of them. The two theories are one that the PRC is going to come in and kick ass, and the different guys discuss it. I have a clip that discusses it, or the People's Liberation Army, the PLA. And the other one is, and this one's the one that I'm subscribing to, which is that the Chinese have got a big event coming up on October 1st, which is the 75th anniversary of the People's Republic.
I think it's the 70th. Is it 70th or 75th?
75th, I think. And they can't, mess it up by clamping down on the Hong Kongers, at least until after that. But one thesis has it that they're just going to let it go, and they're going to maybe fire Lam and then pull back this other thing and then just abandon Hong Kong and just leave it to its own devices. And then kind of very slowly, because the Chinese think long term, like thousands of years, pull the banks and put them in Shanghai because they want to make Shanghai the world's banking center. Right now, Hong Kong, or one of the world banking centers to compete with London and other places, and Zurich, I guess. And they want Shanghai and New York and Shanghai. They want Shanghai to be the place. So they're going to start pulling the Bank of China and these other places and move them to Shanghai very slowly, however long it takes, and just kind of abandon Hong Kong and leave it until 2047 when they can just just open the borders and own the place. And I'm inclined to think that this may be it, because a lot of the bitching and moaning going on in China has less to do with the extradition bill than it does the cost of housing.
Yeah, exactly. Then people can't pay the rents. Just before we get to your clips, I have a short one. This is from CCC TV, and it is about the accusations that the United States of America is behind, or at least an agent provocateur in these demonstrations in Hong Kong. And I have, let's see, this is, I don't know, this guy, I mean, I'm always wary when someone says I'm from an institute. So this is the Hudson Institute. Do you know what they stand for? They're obviously a talking point factory.
I was just looking at a Hudson thing the other day. They're legit.
Legit what?
Well, that's the question.
well, this guy does say something very interesting when the accusation is queried in his direction.
Chinese pro-democracy demonstrators have taken to the streets in Hong Kong, and the Chinese media state-owned media, has said that it's all the fault of the Americans. Joining us now to make some sense of this is Dr. Michael Pillsbury, Senior Fellow of the Hudson Institute and former Reagan administration official. Thanks for joining us. So what do you think? It's all the Americans' fault?
It's not all our fault, but we're partially involved. We have a large consulate there that's in charge with taking care of the Hong Kong Policy Act passed by Congress to ensure democracy in Hong Kong. We also have funded millions of dollars of programs through the National Endowment for Democracy to help democracy in Hong Kong. So in that sense, the Chinese accusation is not totally false.
I like that, and it is the National Endowment for the Arts, and that's the one, man. That's
the National Endowment for Democracy.
A democracy. I'm sorry, it's a big funder of all kinds of shenanigans. And
I've looked at this, and I've looked at this a number of times, and the way I see, I've looked at their grant system. I think we can get money from them.
You and I,
the No Agenda show.
Oh, yeah, this doesn't sound like a good idea.
I'm just saying.
Because before you know it, you get a knock at the door, and it's like, I want to make sure you're talking the right way for this grant you've received. No, I veto.
I'm going to look into it.
Now, there's one other thing that, and maybe I don't know if I'm jumping ahead or not, but China has some real economic, financial issues. I was reading in the New York Times. There's approximately $200 billion of IOUs circling in the system, and they actually are a piece of paper with IOU on it, and now that's become tradable by itself. So they're trading these IOUs at a lower price than face value based upon them thinking the company can pay that debt or not. We had a deflation of the currency, which is an interesting move. It's a move you at a certain point need to make if you have problems in the economy. And there's been such a huge overproduction. There's warehouses full of crap that we don't want to buy.
There's ghost cities even.
The Chinese middle class can't afford it right now. People are being laid off left and right. This may be an additional pressure tactic by us. And I just want to add one more thing. We laughed about Hillary Clinton's techno experts in the State Department. I'm pretty sure when it comes to bots and trolls, we're doing most of the work here in America.
Of course, we're number one.
Always foam finger number one. So next time someone talks to you about Russian bots, who are you kidding? This is state-sponsored bottery, and it's us.
We're good.
So what do you think about that part of it? Because China could really roll into a recession if they're not already in one, further into a depression.
Well, they're really good at
lying,
jiggering the numbers.
lying.
Yeah. They're really good at lying. And they've done a pretty good job of supporting their economy with that technique. I think it's quite because of the lack of news coverage, to not draw attention to this, especially with the American public and most of Europe.
Yeah.
That makes me suspicious that we've got our people behind this. You know, you guys don't want to really write about this right now. Why don't you just hold off?
Do something else. And by the way, when we're ready, we've got a first-class ticket for you to go to Hong Kong and report on.
We'll get you over there. Don't worry about it.
Have you heard about
white supremacy?
Yeah, why can't I take you over to white supremacy? And let's go to Shenzhen. Let's report on what's going on there, because that's a ready to wear pipeline, whatever it is, ready to go supply chain. Yeah, don't focus too much on all the other stuff.
Now, here's the Hong Kong underlying problem clip. And where I got these two clips was from CNBC, which I realized they're the guys, this is the investment community. CNBC has a very small audience of investors that listen to this show religiously, or all the shows. And they would be the guys who bring some Hong Kong guy in to talk about the numbers.
Sure,
and what the hell. So here we go. Here's Hong Kong underlying problems, which is what reiterates what we had on the last show.
David, it's interesting what you're saying. I mean, drawing parallels to the dissatisfaction of these protesters with other movements we've seen around the world. I think of the Yellow Vest protests in Paris as well. It seems you're saying what started out as a movement against the extradition bill and frustration perhaps with Beijing's control over the city is really about dissatisfaction in general with the quality of living in Hong Kong. So if that's the case, how does the government respond to this? Because you're talking about Carrie Lam being in a bunker, but it's one thing if you have to solve dissatisfaction with the bill. It's a whole nother thing if you're talking about dissatisfaction with economic conditions.
And with very deep roots. I mean, there are a lot innocently from outside Hong Kong who believe this is some sort of recent phenomenon. If you go back to 2003 and the demonstrations, very large demonstrations against the treason legislation, Article 23, and then go forward to 2014 and the Occupy movement, this is a discontent that has extremely deep roots. And the first source of anxiety or disappointment for me is that in spite of 15 years of clear evidence of what's going on, the administration clearly hasn't gone to the roots to understand the heart of the problem. This is a community that's suffered quite severe stagnation. Incomes have not risen. Household circumstances have not improved over a 30-year period. In that same time, because of the post-2008 qualitative easing, zero interest environment, the holders of assets, i.e. properties and stocks, remember, neither of those are taxed in Hong Kong. Owners of those assets have moved forward, including people like me who own a home. We've been immunized from this. But those that don't have a home and don't have assets have seen their income stagnate and all assets disappear over the horizon.
Yeah. Kind of sucks.
It's kind of happening here, too, in some funny way. So you got, they don't have there's a lot of people in Hong Kong, millions, and they got screwed, and they're taken to the streets under any excuse they can find, and they've developed all these great techniques to battle the police that are attacking them with umbrellas, and they got this methodology when they have a gas bomb that comes their way, they put a cone over it and then throw water in the top of the cone and then stuff a rag in the top.
They're using laser pointers to thwart facial recognition.
Yeah, they're doing all kinds of stuff. You can learn a lot.
And when they're done, they clean up the street.
Now.
And I think that's fantastic.
Now, here's the one this is a new idea. I never thought of this, but this another guy, this is a different guy, thinks that this might be going on. This is the other clip, the Hong Kong fake police clip.
Message that if the anarchic situation here were to deteriorate, they would consider using police or military forces. According to my information, Xi Jinping has still not yet made up his mind whether to use the 6 million strong People's Liberation Army garrison in Hong Kong. He is now focusing on the October 1st celebration of the 70th birthday of the People's Republic of China. So before October 1st, it's highly unlikely that troops may be mobilized. However, there's a possibility that the law enforcement officials in Shenzhen and neighboring areas, they might be sent into Hong Kong. They will put on Hong Kong police uniform and join the Hong Kong police people in a joint effort to put down the unrest and restore law and order. This might have happened already, even though we don't have hard and fast evidence to this effect.
Great idea.
Yeah. You got China over there.
You know what? This is finally a solution to the homeless problem in America. Put them in cop uniforms. Somehow it feels right. I don't know. It could work for us.
Yeah. Well,
wow, that's
I never thought of that, but so this is continuing, and we'll cover it. Nobody else seems to want to cover it, and for whatever reason, it's possible that it's something our intelligence groups are behind in some funny way, but I don't think so. I think the first guy talks about this is a simmering. We may have helped trigger it, but it's there.
Or
it's
we may be
like
helping to sustain it or to keep it going.
Yeah. Just to embarrass the Chinese for their 70th anniversary.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
We do have a few people to thank for show 1162, starting with Nisa Norell. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Larry May in Mooresville, North Carolina, 13838. He should do something for him. Oh, this is before, it includes the 8888. Thank you. This is for congratulations for our anniversary. Sir Roger on Ice, 8888. These are people congratulating me and Mimi. We're having a meetup today in Berkeley. It'd be ad hoc, so there's not going to be that many people. It's a good time to come. Sir Roger on Ice, Baroness Karen of the Blue Moon. Happy anniversary. Ryan Brady, 8888. Christopher Gray. Charles Schultz. Not the peanut Charles Schultz. Clay Alchemist. I wonder if that's actually his name. Mark Hampton. Robert Marsh. I wonder if it's the Robert Marsh I know. Eric Von Martyr in Van Nuys, California, and Sir Ronald Gardner of the Insane Diego.
Yeah, and Eric is the Valley's Baron out there in California.
Oh, it's the Valley's Baron. Yeah. Sorry, Sir Eric then. Onward with Richard Hufford at 8008.
Boob.
Sorry?
Yeah, Boob.
Oh, Boob. Yeah, Boob. Anonymous Boob, 8008. Brian Pearson, 66.66.
Hold on 1 second. Anonymous in the Netherlands added, this donation is for Patrick Big Lion because this year I effed up his birthday. Could you say sorry for me? Okay, done.
That's one way of doing it.
Yeah.
If you have to say sorry about anything to anybody for any reason,
boob donation.
A donation.
No, boob.
To the No Agenda Show. We'll read your note.
Yeah, I'm a big boob. A boob donation.
Yeah.
I was a boob. Yeah.
I think you stumbled onto a new source of income.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
Brian Pierre, you might be surprised. Brian Pierre, I'm putting the gauntlet down. Brian Pearson, 66.66. Per Ingvarsson.
From Sweden.
He's in Sweden. Please never stop. Okay.
Yeah, Elskadai.
John Mikowski, 5510. Hey, guys. Thanks. Tim Lang in Mount Prospect, Illinois, 5510. Matthew Durney, 5432. Michael Gates, 5280. Eric Schmidt in Frankfurt, Deutschland.
He says, Job karma works.
Sir Milkman, 5150. See note, he had the Orange County meetup.
Yes.
They sent, is that the one who sent us? Yeah, somebody sent, I think it was the Orange County meetup, a Tennessee meetup, sent a sheet with a map of Tennessee and signatures all over it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they sent two of them, one for you.
Oh, did mine break?
No, it's here. I got it. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Maxine Waters Gravels back with 5005. Was overboard for one day vacationing in Port Roberts, Washington. Huh. Yeah, I know where it is. It's jokes there I will not go into. Matthew Grice, 50. The following people are $50 donor's name and location, but he does have a note. I'm not sure you read anything for 50, but all I've got available right now, I'm afraid. If you send any more, my kid will be eating stale bread.
Oh, no.
And drinking out of the toilet for a month. So if you can see your way clear to a de-douching and a health karma, we'll put you the health karma at the end of the de-douching now.
You've been de-douched.
Jonathan Meyer in Xenia, Ohio. These are $50 donors. Heather Rodriguez in Stockton, California. Edward Mazurek in Memphis, Tennessee. Larry Hay in Mooresville, North Carolina. I think it's Sir Larry. Tony Smith in Fort Worth, Texas. Ryan Gilo, parts unknown. Sir Jim, Knight of the Tug Hill Plateau. And he has got a happy birthday. We got the call out there for you. We also have the call out for Matthew. That concludes. It's a very short list today, unfortunately. The Thursdays have not been up to par. I want to thank these folks for helping us out on show 1162.
Well, it's also very nice that some people did think of the anniversary celebrations. Can I ask how many years you have been together and married now?
Well, since it was 8888, the Chinese lucky number, worth millions of dollars as a license plate, you can figure it out, 31.
And they never had a fight.
never had a fight.
No agenda meetups.
Well, it appears that we have the most of the meetup, noagendameetups.com website all sorted out. This is growing much faster than I thought it ever would, and I think the Orange County meetup had 23 people, and I encourage everyone to go to noagendameetups.com. That's where you can see pictures. I'm sure the Portland meetup also had quite a good showing. So there are event pictures and people put in stuff in the descriptions there. What I can't do is people sending me emails on show day saying, hey, I'm organizing this and could you do a mention? It really has to all go through noagendameetups.com because there's, Mimi and Eric, the shill, are diligently working.
Well, it's actually the other guy who's doing that site. It's not Eric so much.
No, but they are working with the developer to make, but they're also coordinating, and then they send the information to me. So what I'm saying is, do everything you need to do, all the promotional, all the reviews. So the meetup reports, this is very important. You can put them right there in your meetup for that date, and you can send me an email if you want. But that's where I'm going to get the information from, because we're seeing meetups with 15, 20, 25 people. Again, these are completely organized by the Value for Value Network. It's fantastic. This personal contact is more necessary than ever today. Well, John, you're going to one tonight. It's really, it will humanize you. And the good thing, it's like I hate to say it, but it is a safe space. It's a no agenda safe space. You walk up to no agenda people, you can talk about anything. There'll be no judgment, no triggering, just good conversation, usually with some fine libations. And noagendameetups.com is where you can find out all of the information. For instance, this evening, the Berkeley, California meetup. Sunday evening, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. August 10th, Chicago. August 14th, Warsaw in Poland. August 15th, Southeast London. Also a meetup in Dearborn, Michigan. August 17th in San Antonio. I think, is that on a Saturday? This is the problem. If you want, I don't think I can count. If it's a Saturday, it's not good. What is the 17th?
No, Saturdays are no good for Adam or myself.
Yeah, it's Saturday. Yeah, I can't.
But if you do Friday, we can do Friday. Thursday's good. We're doing Thursday tonight. Thursday's good. Friday's good. Probably Monday's a good day, but no one's going to go to Monday. Or Sunday night would be good, maybe.
Sunday night would work, but Saturday.
But you can't do
Saturday
Friday.
And Wednesday is not. It just doesn't work.
Wednesday is out, and so is Saturday. Yes, it's out because that's unless you don't want a show.
Well, and I know that doesn't make it easy for everybody, but they're always there in spirit. And in fact, your high-quality downloadable PDFs of our heads to cut out and put on a stick will also be soon made available in noagendameetups.com. Just closing out the list for August, the 18th, Victoria, BC, the 22nd of August, Charleston, South Carolina, August 23rd, Salem, Oregon, the 25th, Lincoln, Nebraska, and on the 31st, Busan, South Korea, and Sao Paulo, 2 meetups. And again, go to noagendameetups.com.
I should mention that Eric maybe and Mimi probably are going to the Victoria meetup. I would love to go to that meetup, but
that's great. Yeah. Well, it's a Sunday, so that would work if you're out there.
Well, I'd have to do the show there.
I know, how annoying.
I could do the show there, but then again, I'd have to. It would be complicated for me to go that far. I mean, I could.
This is the problem with our life.
Berkeley. Hey, move the Victoria, BC meetup to Berkeley, and I'll do it on Sunday night.
Thank you all very much for supporting the Value for Value Network. It is incredibly valuable to us that you come in and support us financially. And especially people who are in the programs that under $50 we don't mention for brevity and just because there's only so much podcast we can make, but we sincerely appreciate anonymity as well. We sincerely appreciate that, and thank you all very much. And we will be doing it all over again on Thursday. Please remember us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
We'll also be doing it on Sunday.
Quick look at the birthday list for today. It is the 8th of August, 2019. Matthew Fry says happy birthday to his smoking hot wife. She'll be celebrating on the 24th. Sir Jim, Knight of the Tug Hill Plateau, says happy birthday to Amy Burlingame, Dame of the Traveling Bassets. Her birthday was 2 days ago. We say happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. I realized I forgot some karmas. Is that what you were going to say?
No, there was a karma, but you also said our next show's on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, but it's the second Thursday of the week.
Exactly. Just wanted you to have to mention that.
Jobs, jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Title changes, turn and face the slaves. Title changes. Don't want to be a douchebag.
Well, we have one title change today. You heard him earlier say Sir J.B. Knight of Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, Baron of the Chesapeake Bay and the Outer Banks. That is his new official name. We won't even talk about his old one. Thank you very much, Sir J.B., for supporting the No Agenda show with everything you've done financially and spiritually as well, as my friend. Thank you. We have one. Let me see. Oh, yes, we do have some knightings here. 1, 2. Yeah, we've got 2. We've got actually one daming and one knighting. So if you can get your
guy right here.
Yes, I see it. Yeah. Oh, the big one. Very nice. Anonymous, step on up here onto the podium next to the lectern. And Chris Harabark. Both of you have supported the best podcast in the universe in the amount of $1,000 or more. That means you get a coveted seat here at the round table with our knights and our dames, and I hereby pronosticate thee Dame Dra of the Steel Balls and Sir Acid of the Scandinavian Woods. For you, we've got Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Maryland Crab Cakes, and a 6-pack of Natty Boh, Anime and Ambrosia, Diet Soda and Video Games, Ginger Ale and Gerbils, Breast Milk and Pablum, Bong Hits and Bourbon, Ginger Ale and Gerbils, and Mutton and Mead. I had some stuck in my throat just earlier. Go to noagendanation.com/rings. Eric the Shill, who does a great job on these things, will be helping you out when you give him your information. NoAgendaShow.com, Dvorak.org/NA. Thank you again for everybody. This is the only way it works. After all, it is your show.
It's your show.
It's your show.
Well, I got a few things that we haven't discussed.
Okay.
I do have one of these side clips that we could use. It's like an evergreen all of a sudden, where I have now the CEO of the National Public Media on a podcast.
What now? National Public Media is what?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
National Public Media is an arm of National Public Radio.
Oh, this is
they're the ones who sell the ads.
Yeah, it's the commercial end of the spectrum. Yes.
Yeah, so we've talked about this before, that most of these so-called public radio, they ask for donations, but they also, why are they asking for donations when they're commercial? It doesn't make any sense to me why anyone would give them money. They should be giving it to people that aren't commercial, like ourselves, that we don't have, people buying ads for the No Agenda Show, then asking for money too.
Do you want me to play the NPR advertising clip first, the evergreen?
Yeah, let's play that first, and then we'll play this, and it just reiterates in a different way the same thing, only it's newer.
Well, this is when did they just have the brand new CEO, the woman who came from BBC, I think? Was that how it went?
No, she came from New York Times. I forgot where she came, but she went off and did something else. But this is
yeah, she was talking about revenue being down and what the problems were.
Rich Rodriguez recently.
Oh shit.
What?
Oh, it's the wrong clip. After all that whole damn setup, are you kidding me?
You did this has happened to you a number of times. You're cursed.
I hate myself for this. And
it's a curse.
Let me tell you, I actually relabeled this thing because I had such a hard time finding it.
And now you've relabeled it to oblivion.
I feel so stupid.
Well, just cut that out. Fix it in post.
Oh, let me make a mark here. I'll cut that out. I'll fix that in post. Okay. Done. So let's just pretend you heard that very funny...
That's fantastic.
Wow. Intro. I can't believe she said, call it advertising, whatever you want to call it. Man.
Do you have it?
No, I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it in post. I told you.
And by the way, this is a classic example of what I do all the time, which is I put it someplace where I know I won't lose it. How come you moved it from the kitchen table? It's been on the kitchen table for 3 months. Well, I moved it to some place where I knew I wouldn't lose it. And then you'll never find it again in your whole life.
You have to say,
why do we delude ourselves with this sort of dumbness?
So now you need to say, wow, that's a great clip.
That's a great clip.
I know.
Okay, anyway, let's just skip that and we'll go to this clip, which is the newest clip. And this is another example. And by the way, this guy's this is on a podcast that they're putting out, and this guy's like a podcast junkie, and he's talking about the golden age of podcasting and podcasting. He's got this woman on. Here we go.
Joined by Gina Garubo, CEO of National Public Media, and we are going to talk all things audio, this golden age of audio that we're in. Gina, welcome.
Thank you, Brian. It's great to be here.
Okay, so let's get one thing out of the way first, and that is National Public Media. I always get confused when it's National Public Media and then it's NPR, and if there's a difference and what the difference is.
National Public Media is the sponsorship subsidiary of NPR. We have an entire team that helps bring corporate sponsorship to our member stations, and then another team, NPR Corporate Sponsorships, just dedicated to driving sponsorship for NPR across all their platforms.
So money.
Yeah.
This is not the sort of the government funded stuff.
Correct.
Okay. So
this is the sponsorship brand advertiser world.
Whoa! It sounds a lot like this clip.
Okay, moving on to money. How are NPR's corporate underwriting revenues holding up in the recession? And what about foundation grants?
Two different stories. Underwriting is down. It's down for everybody. I mean, this is the area that is most down for us. Is in sponsorship, underwriting, advertising. Call it whatever you want.
And this other lady. Now I haven't spoken to her in years. I had someone on my sales team when I did the Top 30 Hit List, which was a nationally syndicated Top 30 Countdown show, everybody, with Adam Curry, MTV guy. Pepsi was the main sponsor, if I recall, and I think Reebok at one point. But we had salespeople, and they would sell for multiple. They sold for Rush Limbaugh. They sold for my show. And this one woman, her sole job, or outside of this, was selling for National Public Media. And she said, I talked to her about it. It's exactly like any other radio sales job. The biggest frustration is there's not enough inventory because it's you only have so many places where they can say brought to you by. So they jack up the rates, but they can't create more inventory. And maybe they've done it now with online, that they've been able to add to that mix. But for the pure radio side, it's sold just like regular radio advertising. And they've got a lot of things in there that are iffy, like calls to action, go to this/this on the site, just short of giving you a promo code, basically.
Yep.
So they're full of crap.
This is the greatest scam in the country.
Yeah, they're full of crap. Now, I heard Bernie Sanders on Joe Rogan. I don't want. There's no clips that I thought were. I mean, he was boring.
I got a good clip.
Okay, well, you hold on to that for a second.
Tell us your story first. Well, my clip has got a double faux pas by Bernie.
Yeah, but I was
going to play it. What?
You said tell me your story. Then you go into leading into your clip.
Oh, okay. I would. Yeah, you're right. It's a mistake.
So the one thing he said is, in other countries, they give each party half an hour of television time. So you can go do whatever you want. You want to talk about the healthcare? You want to talk about student debt? Whatever you want. That is how democratic it should be run. Now, what he neglected to say is he was even like in England. They do this in England. They have to give it to him. Yeah, it's a state-run corporation. The same in Europe. The state-run television stations, der Staat. Those are the ones who are letting you do that. And there's all kinds of stipulations. But turn that around. Why wouldn't NPR be doing that here in America? Why wouldn't PBS be doing it? You know why? Because they're corporately sponsored. That's why. There's nothing public about it. As we just heard.
I agree. Well, I realize...
What do you think of my Bernie? Am I getting there?
Well...
Never mind. Never mind.
It sounds like somebody. And I'm not sure who it sounds like, but it doesn't sound like Bernie. It sounds like a generic character, but it's not quite Bernie-ish
I'll work
enough.
on it. I'll work on it.
Well, I don't have the clip.
You were just going to talk about the clip. At least
no,
I
am
found
going
my
to get
clip.
the clip. This is a teaser for the Sunday show.
Oh, the other Thursday. Okay.
The other Thursday, the next Thursday show would be on Sunday.
Yes.
And I will have that. Yeah.
Okay.
We do have some good news. Apparently this Caban woman who is going to, I do have a clip of this.
Who is this? This is the Republican wants to run against AOC in Brooklyn? Or Queens?
No.
Queens?
Caban is the socialist DSA woman who wanted to take over the district attorneys,
the Soros sister.
Soros
sister, yeah.
And she was going to legalize prostitution and take the police off the street and release all the prisoners.
Oh, this sounds great.
I was thinking that. And she almost won, and they announced that she won on Democracy Now! We played that clip before, but it turns out she lost. So let's listen.
In New York City, Tiffany Caban conceded Tuesday to Melinda Katz in the race to become the Democratic nominee for the Queens District Attorney. Caban appeared to narrowly win the race election night, but a paper count saw her lose her lead by a razor-thin margin. In the final tally, she lost to Queens Borough President Melinda Katz by just 55 votes after a judge refused to reinstate the discarded ballots Caban's campaign was fighting for. Caban, a public defender and democratic socialist, ran on a progressive platform of ending cash bail, decriminalizing sex work, and going after bad landlords, police officers, and immigration authorities. She vowed to keep fighting to reform the criminal justice system, tweeting, quote, "We showed that you can run on a boldly decarceral platform. You don't have to compromise your values or give in to fear-mongering. You don't have to play by the old rules," she said.
Yeah. How'd that work out?
Well, she barely lost by 50 votes.
Oh, how many votes were there?
About 90, I think. No, she just barely lost. I mean, it's a miracle. Right. I think they rigged the vote because they couldn't take a chance on this. If she got in, it would have. Maybe great for the show, but it would have been unbelievable what would happen. But she didn't. So
I have a question, just a random question. How come there's never a mass shooting at a Cartier party in the Hamptons? It seems like that would be the place to make an impact. Don't go shooting poor people in Walmart.
Well, they have you do have a lot of
polo match. The polo match, yeah.
You have a lot of hired help at these events in the Hamptons.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it'd be very easy for the hired help to be one of them, be a radical with a machine gun.
Okay, we should probably stop. John, Trump's red law Gestapo are going to come and get us if we talk like this. I'm worried.
Something else. If these guys are so good at doing all this red laws and all, and they can track us, and we're already under incredible surveillance for surveillance state, how come we don't stop any of these things?
Because it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
It only works after the fact, and because the algos are really not all that good at all.
Mr. D.C. Vorak. Open up the door, Jebediah, now!
Mr. Adam Curry. Open up the door, Mr. Curry, now!
Oh, the algos don't work, but they can predict global warming.
Yes.
Just saying.
Hey, there's a big, I'm in the indoor cycling community known as spinning. As you know, I go to.
We have a clip.
I have a clip, yeah.
Well, I have the old clip, the old spinning clip. Why don't you play it?
The old spinning clip?
There's an old spinning clip. Look up spinning. You'll find it.
Okay.
Spinning.
Spinning. Oh. Well, there's a couple of them, actually. Well, let me see. What was this one?
The jury is out.
Thank you. Love the docket. Love what was on the docket.
That's the other one.
The other one, this one.
What is happening? It's amazing. You can convince anyone of any.
No.
Huh. Well, I had an old spinning clip. We played it a couple of times on the show. It describes spinning.
I think that's what it was. It's a comedic routine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to play that. You're trying to embarrass my sport. I won't stand for this. Yes, this is a sport.
Competitive? Does anyone win, or do you just sit around and tell a secret?
We hold hands and we tell each other a secret. Exactly. And remember to put your arms up and bring it all down to heart center. Have a great day, everybody. So there's a controversy in the spinning world. Now, I spin locally at Ride, which is a local Austin born and bred small spinning corporation. I would never go to the overlords of SoulCycle, those phonies over there with their candles in the spin class. But especially this weekend where it's Pride in Austin, can you believe SoulCycles are empty?
Also tonight, backlash is growing against Equinox and SoulCycle after it was revealed their billionaire owner is set to hold a fundraiser for the president. As our Stephanie Gosk reports, it has some celebrities calling for a boycott and customers canceling memberships.
High-end fitness brand Equinox gyms got their members' heart rates racing in an entirely different way today. Criticism and threats to boycott the gym and its spinning studio, SoulCycle, came flooding in after word broke that the corporation's owner, billionaire Stephen Ross, is holding a lavish fundraiser for President Trump later this week. Talk show host Andy Cohen raged outside a gym.
So Equinox and SoulCycle are giving our money to the Trump campaign.
But later added he was keeping his membership.
It's everybody's right to give money to whatever candidate they want.
Equinox says neither Equinox nor SoulCycle have anything to do with the event and do not support it. In a statement, Ross writes, "I have always been an active participant in the democratic process. I've known Donald Trump for 40 years, and while we agree on some issues, we strongly disagree on many others." It's the latest example of people using their wallets as political hammers. Some recently boycotted Nike for removing a line of shoes with the Betsy Ross flag. And multiple students...
Blah, blah, blah. But I will be monitoring the situation here in Austin, for it is my belief that SoulCycle will have to close because of this.
Could be, and I'm going to tell you something interesting. That's a nice lead-in.
I'm ready. Woo!
So Julian Castro outed a bunch of people in Texas, or his brother.
Yeah,
somebody did.
His brother, campaign. The one with the beard, Joaquin, is the brother.
Well, he's got blonde hair. He's changed his hair color.
He's got to tattoo his face like Tyson.
And I think he's going to eventually go trans. Personally, that's what I think. Now, and then his brother will follow later, and people
will be confused again.
Rokowskis, I think, did this. Now, once he outed these people, and this is going to happen with the SoulCycles too. The media, which is stupid, is going to have to realize that you can't do this, because that means it's going to slow down on donations. People aren't going to want to donate because they don't want to be outed, because it's very easy to do because all the donations are listed on this website. If you want to out somebody, say, our local barber is donated the max to Trump and he's a lousy guy, and he won't donate again. And it's going to be not just for Trump's campaign. No, but people are going to stop donating to any campaign. And who's going to be hurt? Who is hurt when the donations slow down?
Jared Kushner.
The people that are going to be hurt are the media. The media won't get their money. And so you can't let this even be part of the news cycle. You've got to put a lid on it. You're going to have to condemn Castro.
Good point.
You're going to have to condemn Castro, get him. He won't even be on the debates after the next one, but for pulling this stunt and then doubling down on it. Anybody in the media that, in other words, the guys who have a clue, the higher end in the media, what are we letting this guy get away with this for? Because that money is our money.
Now, mind you, it was his brother who's not running who did it.
It's our money. I don't care whose brother it was. That guy's done. He's out.
I think you make a very good point, and we'll see how that goes.
Castro's done. He's toast.
The reason I said Jared Kushner is for something else I learned about recently? You know how the Democratic National Committee pretty much use this. I think is it Share Blue? Yeah, Share Blue. So all the donations all run through one company, and they do the
giant, and they have a website.
Yes, and they do the payment processing, and I'm pretty sure they also write the chip-in email, since it's all coming from the same place.
Too. Chip in.
Donald Trump had a coup and created WinRed. And WinRed was set up by Kushner. He brought in, I think, the guy from Stripe. Yeah, I think it was Stripe to run it. That's a credit card processor. And Trump has now finagled this WinRed into being the central place for all Republican Party donations to all run through WinRed.
Nice.
Well, what's nice is they probably are using, they have all the information now. They know everything about you. They've got your credit card. They're taking a 6% cut. So probably about 3.
Seems high.
Yes. Hello. I think it's a ripoff.
Sounds like it.
And I don't think it's very cool. And no one's reporting on it, of course. So I'll look into more.
Well, it's probably comparable to what the Big Blue or whatever that operation is.
Share Blue.
Cutting.
Well,
I bet you it's similar, because I don't think they would overdo it. They don't want to be, because then if you compare one, it might be a setup, so you have to compare the other. Because
I have, I'm in the Share Blue system, because I always donate to both sides, although I don't vote for either side, as unaffiliated as I am. But I like to get all the emails. And really, this WinRed outfit, I noticed the difference, because all of a sudden I was getting text messages from them with links, and it's several a week, and it's like, the president wants you at dinner, and we got a match. Cool. We got a match. It's consistently fundraising with and all you have to do is say yes, and they automatically deduct from your card on file, which they don't have anymore because I haven't donated anyone this year. And that credit card expired. But the Trump organization, especially this Weasley Kushner, I think they're making some money on this.
Could be.
And the Stripe guide seems kind of untrustworthy. But I more reporting on that on Sunday. I've got to dive a little bit deeper. But I've been meaning to mention something about it. It's kind of douchebaggy.
Well, the point is I was making was different, which is
I know. And I think that's a good point.
Done. There's no doubt about it.
I think that's a very valid point. Well, maybe they threw this, let's focus on this. Let's boycott Soul Cycle. I think they're public. Aren't they public?
I have no idea. That whole part of society is unknown to me.
Yeah. I got one more thing, unless you have something else.
Well, I got some stuff, but I think I can move it. I do want to talk about that Jessica woman, guy Jonathan, up in Canada, who's making a mess up there, and I have a bunch of clips about it. But mostly the clips aren't so much about her. This is the woman who she's exploiting Canadian law. In Canada, if you say you're a woman, then by law you're a woman.
And even if you're a podcaster or a YouTuber, you can't deny that. You can actually be penalized.
Yeah, you can be
by
sued
law.
and or fined or jailed.
Yeah. Way to go, Scandinavia.
So this Jonathan character, who seems to be some sort of a character in all caps, he is exploiting the Canadian system, the Canadian laws, and he seems to be he just says he's a woman. He's never taken hormones. He puts a lipstick on and he wears a dress once in a while, but not always. And he says he's a woman, and therefore he should be able to get because he's a woman by his own statement. That means his genitalia are women's genitalia because he's a woman, and although that's a dick and balls. And so he is demanding to be waxed by the various operations in Canada that do Brazilians.
By the way, what you said earlier, by saying he, that can get you fined in Canada.
Yes, this is true. In fact, we have the couple of lawyers talking about that, but I'm not in Canada right now. And everybody who pays any attention, the New Republic did a really good article on this, and they refer to him as he because let's face reality. But the Canadians, because he self-identified, not having you just say you're a woman. You're a woman. And so now he's making a fuss and suing everybody. He already put a couple of these little salons, which are home businesses.
Yeah, out of business.
And some woman, he even extorted $2,500 from someone to just get him off his case. And so some legal eagles are all on it, and they're, fighting back. And what I have are clips that discuss the legal weirdness of Canada in regards to this character, and I'm going to save those for Sunday.
Oh no! I want to hear them.
Okay, I've got them. Let's go. Let's start with let's go with human rights. There's three clips, and I'm going to play them all now because he demanded it. Human rights discussion. This is a very good clip.
We've got two conflicting ideas of human rights and two conflicting ideas of equality, and I think it's the same in the United States. There is a more traditional understanding of human rights, which is a classical liberal approach, which is that my human rights fundamentally are about my right to be left alone by government. So I can practice my religion, I can say what I want to say, I can associate with whom I want to associate, I can own and enjoy the fruits of my labor by way of private property rights. So my human rights don't really conflict with other people's human rights. It's simply a right to be left alone by government. And that's also the older idea of we're all equal before the law, but there's not necessarily an equal outcome because some people are more talented, some people work harder, some people are smarter, people make different choices, good choices, bad choices. And at the end of the day, we're not all equal in terms of our appearance or how much money we make or all kinds of other factors. Mm-hmm. So the older idea was, free people are not equal and equal people are not free. And I think that still holds true today. Mm-hmm. But now the new notion of human rights is it's kind of a change to human ambitions, human demands, human entitlements. So, I have a right to be sold goods and services, and nobody can turn me down, or I have a right. It's become an imposition on other people.
Yeah.
It's one thing, for example, you take the example gender identity, gender expression. Under the old idea of human rights, the classical liberal idea, every person has the freedom to dress up however they want. So if a man wants to call himself a woman, dress up as a woman, okay, that's your human right to dress up as you please. But the new human rights extends to, well, other people have to agree with your self-conception and have to affirm your own beliefs that you really are a woman, and other people have to treat you like a woman. And that's a big leap away from the traditional understanding of human rights.
And are they teaching this in K1 through 12?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, you exhibited a quality when you called me out for calling this guy a him, a he, when he says he's a girl. I'm required by law in Canada, you mentioned this yourself, I have to call him a she, so it's an imposition on me. Let's play this clip. This is the next clip, which is the hierarchy of rights.
But what's happened in recent decades is you've got more and more conflicts between sexual orientation and religion. Like in the United States, you've got the cake decorator, cake baker, saying that, look, I'll gladly serve gay and lesbian clients, but I'm not going to participate in a same-sex wedding and make the cake because that's contrary to my religious conviction. And U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of the baker in that case. In Canada, the courts would far more likely rule in favor of the customer that was denied the cake. Mm-hmm. But that is a real conflict there between somebody wanting, I think, legitimately to practice their religion and live out their faith versus, some of the demands. And so there's always lots of clashes between the LGBTQ and the religious freedom are continually in conflict. And 9 times out of 10, if not 19 times out of 20, the courts rule on the LGBTQ side, even though they continue to insist, there's no hierarchy of rights, there's no hierarchy of rights. Well, the court rulings themselves prove otherwise. There is a hierarchy of rights.
There's no real conflict.
And then the last one is just what does he think is going to happen? And this is a very short clip.
These cases receive a lot of publicity, whether the Justice Center is involved or not. Our arguments in the Yaniv case is that the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is the supreme law of the land, which is supreme over any law passed by any province or by the national parliament, Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees a right to liberty and a right to security of the person. And one of our arguments is that a woman, as part of her security of the person, should not be compelled by law to wax male genitalia.
Yeah.
And, hopefully the tribunal is required to at least consider that argument. I won't predict whether they will accept it or reject it.
Wow. This is what you get when you have a weak governmental system, I guess.
Well, this is what you get when you listen to maniacs, the social justice warrior types, or these Democrats, or these Democrat socialists, or any of these people that have gone out of their way to corrupt the system in such a way that common sense doesn't even come into play. These women in Canada, these waxologists, as some of them are called, they may be required to grab this guy's balls and then fondle them and pull off, put some stuff on there and then wax the guy. By law, they're required to do this. This is a perversion, and the Canadian law is actually encouraging it. It's a perverted country.
You can donate at Dvorak.org/NA, all you Scandinavians. All right, to lighten the mood, I will leave us with a joke from a podcast. It's only 1 minute, but I thought it was a pretty funny joke. And it's about Los Angeles and San Francisco. This is from the Bill Burr podcast. He does a podcast on Mondays. He's usually too depressing for me to listen to, but I appreciate that he's doing it. And he has guests on, and this is comedian Steve Sweeney.
Let me tell you something. You want to look at a portrait of life, right? Uh-huh. Okay, so right now, here's my take on Los Angeles, because I've been here a few times now this year with this movie, but I lived here.
By the way, it's called
Sweeney Killing Sweeney. It's on iTunes and it's on Amazon.
Okay.
So right now, here's my take on Los Angeles. The camping, it's amazing. This is the greatest place to camp out in the world because I see everybody's camping out wherever you go. Every sidewalk, there's somebody sleeping.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a great city to be homeless as far as like the weather.
Well, everybody's camping out. It's nice. They like the outdoors. Yeah. And then in San Francisco, I'm at the Improv tonight, so I'm trying out some little material on you. San Francisco, I went there. And, I went to see all the Golden Gate Bridge and all the sites, Telegraph Avenue. But then I said, when in Rome, right? Do as the, people that live there do. So I took a shit on the sidewalk, and I got to tell you, it was very liberating.
I thought that was a good joke. It was a great build-up.
Yeah. It was cute.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Whoa! The affiliates will be surprised. We are.
Yeah, went way over.
We did go way over. Well, you got your money's worth today. What was it worth to you? That's what we call value. We'd like to receive value from you. Dvorak.org/NA. Nick the Rat coming up next on the No Agenda Stream, noagendastream.com. Thanks to Sir Chris Wilson and Felix Wilson for one more donation plea from a young abused child. Tom Anonymous and Gary with some older end-of-show mixes. And we return on the second Thursday of the week on Sunday right here on noagendashow.com. Until then, coming in you from the frontier of Austin, Texas, FEMA Region Number 6 on the governmental maps. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, I never saw the Zephyr today. I must have, I don't know. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return Sunday right here on No Agenda. Until then, adios, mofos, and such.
I want to call out my brother Joe as a douchebag. Douchebag. Sorry, Joe.
Daddy, why do they call people douchebag?
It's for someone who's been listening to the show for a while but never donated, or someone who hasn't donated in a long time.
Daddy, when did you last donate to the show?
It wasn't that long ago. I had my beard de-douched. Don't you remember?
That was a very long time ago. Daddy?
Yes, Felix?
Are you a douchebag? My name is Felix Wilson, and my daddy is a douchebag. But he wasn't always a douchebag. Life just got in the way, and now it makes me sad to say this. Daddy, you're a douchebag. You can easily cure this, and so can you. Stop being a douchebag. Go to dvorak.org/NA and donate now. No child deserves a douchebag parent.
I'm OTG. You can't find me. Yes, I'm OTG. You can't find me. Yeah, I'm OTG. No eyes on me.
항무기 연구소 성명 병 이어 완전 상강 이어 병 뜨거운 축하를 보내어 봤다.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And thank you, Comrade.